Seas are wild tonight, stretching over Sado Island. Silent clouds of stars. Bass Show. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us on today's special Election Day podcast. Greg and I are going to be just standing back and seeing what's going on with the election. We're going to be covering it live. We'll try to do the polls every so often, put them up on the screen for you guys to see. We're going to go wherever this conversation takes us, but hang on tight and thank you guys for joining us.
So what's going on?
What's going on, Greg, man? So have you felt any type of tension this whole week?
This whole week? This whole
year? Yeah. So first of all, thanks for being here, man. Let's do a cheers to start the night. Today we're some vino enthusiasts. We poured this one. Where was it? I got this one as a birthday gift.
The wine that we got today is from Napa Valley. It's called Quilt, the fabric of the land.
Oh, it's really good. I love it. It's a you said it was a red blend, right?
Yeah, it's Petite Syrah, Merlot, Zinfandel, and Petite. That looks like it says Verlot. Never heard of a Verlot.
I haven't either. So it seems like an interesting mix.
When you lower it like that, it gets rid of the chat. So you can just leave it full and bring up the web page and go back and forth.
Okay. So, anyway, tensions. You were out there today?
Oh, today? There's nothing. So I'll give you my voting experience today.
Okay.
So I had moved, and I didn't change my address for the DMV yet. And I did go on to the mail service website and get my mail redirected. And so in that process, the DMV just sends you a update your driver's license kind of thing, and I haven't done it yet. So I wasn't sure if I was going to vote where I live now or where I was supposed to previously have voted.
Mm-hmm.
So I just walk up to the place where I should be voting now, and I said, I moved, my address didn't change, I'm not sure where I'm supposed to vote. They're like, oh, we'll help you out. So we go, and there's like a tablet. And the lady is like on the tablet. She's like, what's your name? Give her my name. She's like, okay. So what's your old address? Give her the old address. And she's like, okay, what's the new address? Give her my new address. And then she flips the tablet over so I can see it. She goes, are these both you? And I go, yes. She's like, okay, you can vote here. Just give me a second. She prints out brand new ballots, puts them in this envelope, hands it to me, and says you can just go over there and fill it out and then go to the scanners. And it's like, oh, I fill it out. I don't know if they were all like this, but I chose the one that was the stand that was super wobbly. So like anytime I wrote on it, I was going like this. And so I went, and the scanner is just like a printer. You put the paper in and it scans both sides, and then your ballot just like goes down into a chute and sits in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And then they give you your sticker here, and you leave. And it was weird because I told them I moved. I didn't know where I was going, didn't know what I was supposed to do, and there was no form of checking like if I was who I said I was.
They don't check IDs, none of that?
They didn't check mine. But as I was filling mine out, someone else had said something like, oh, do you need my ID? And is my ID okay, or do you need my driver's license? Something along that line. And then they're like, oh, your ID is fine. But why would they? Like, it sounded more or less like he was offering it, so they just said sure. But it's not. Wasn't required.
That's interesting, huh?
I feel like in my situation, it would be required more than if someone came in and said, this is my name, this is where I live.
Yeah, because you don't really know, right?
Yeah.
You don't know if maybe they're doing it twice or whatever.
I mean, even not that. There's plenty of people out there who are registered to vote and won't vote. So I could just go walk down the street and pick up a bunch of people's addresses and just go and say, oh, this is my name. This is where I live. Oh, here you go.
That's something interesting that you mentioned the other day, which was that more people voted early this year than they voted entirely 4 years ago.
No.
That's not what you said?
No.
What was it that you said?
I was just saying that there were more mail-in ballots on the first day than there was all last election.
On the first day, then.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So more people were doing that, but I don't know. You can see it in the whole race.
Get the mic closer.
You can see it in the whole race that everyone has, or the groups have their specific ways of like, you can tell who's voting and how they're voting and when they're voting. So it seems like more Democrats would be doing the early mail-in ballots. So a lot of their votes have been counted. A lot of Republicans, they're all saying, "Oh, I don't trust the mail-in voting. They're waiting to vote in person." So that means that majority of the votes that aren't counted are going to be coming from Republicans. So like the numbers we see right now, there's a higher chance that less Republican numbers have been counted than Democratic. Right. Democrats
at the moment.
have been voted or have been counted.
Right.
So there's so many numbers that go into it. But like what we're looking at right now, it looks like 129 electoral votes for Biden and 94 electoral votes for Trump. But they need to reach 270 to win. So
what's up, Robert and Gilbert? Thank you guys for joining us today. Any input on the election? What do you guys think? What's your experience with voting? Did you mail in your ballot or did you vote in person? Why don't you share your experience with us on the live chat? So, Greg, I was going to ask you. So, how many times prior to the last election have you voted in the last 10, 12 years?
So, I have, for president, I have only voted for 2 presidents. So I voted last election.
In the previous one?
And
This one?
I didn't vote in Obama's elections. I voted previous to Obama.
Because Obama, you must have been 26? No, sorry. You must have been 18? You had just turned 18, huh?
Obama,
It was 2008?
Oh, no, you know what?
Yeah, 2008.
Sorry, I didn't vote for Obama's first election. I voted in Obama's second election.
You must have been 18 at that time, right?
So, yeah. So, it was 18 I didn't vote. It was 22 that I voted.
Yeah. Robert says Kanye 2020. And Gabe says Biden care 2020.
Biden care. As long as they don't charge us the fine at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think
this
could go either way. This is the first election that I think a lot of people our age never really paid attention to elections until this year.
Yeah. So how he just brought up Kanye. I don't know if you saw on the ballot Kanye's name.
Yeah.
But it was not just Kanye West.
No, it's his full name.
No, he put in like I forget what it was, but he put in like a much longer name. I'll look it up.
It's his actual name.
There's no way that is his actual name. It's like a sentence. It's a bunch of names. Kanye West's name on the ballot. He put, let me find it.
You don't remember what he said?
No, it was too long to remember.
How much research did you do in terms of this election on all the propositions?
With the propositions, it's hard for me to remember them. So I did the research, made a decision, and wrote it down. And past that, I kind of forgot it. Like if we brought up a specific one and started talking about it, I would remember and be able to tell you my position on it. But those things, there's so much. How many were there? There were like 20 props, I believe. 23?
No, I think it was It was from 14 to 25.
That's why I was saying 11. So yeah, so 11. So I'm not remembering the number. Like Prop 14, I can't remember exactly what it is. So it's hard for me to just talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I'm just wondering if you had done your homework before the election.
Yeah, and then I also went on to see who from my party followed the same views that I did. So maybe so I made this a decision, and then I went online to see why other people were making other decisions, and from there I either changed my position on something or I left it as is. So I made my own decision, then I went and checked why others were voting opposite of me.
Yeah.
And then went from there.
What about like local government? Did you know?
Some of the local government stuff was a little bit more difficult in a sense. Like it was kind of like,
I don't think people paid attention to that before.
Water district. Like I'm not thinking of the water district.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. It's like a lot of people. I think in a way this whole controversial election has done some good. With all the bad, the non-communication that we have, and all the arguments that people have. I mean, people have lost relationships because of the election or where they stand party-wise. But something that I think that this election did very well was the fact that it put a spotlight on the government, how it works. You can see the gears turning now. You can see how everything's powered, who's behind what's important. I think, I think that's a really good thing that happened with this whole election. Because I don't even think this happened in 2016. 2016, I don't remember anybody that from like immediate friends. I don't remember people talking about voting. It wasn't this big.
No, because the political. Okay, the easiest way to see it is if you go on YouTube and you watch YouTube, like people who consider themselves YouTubers. Like if you call yourself a YouTuber, go watch how they make videos. It's all about being over the top, exaggeration, shock factor. And it brings in so much attention. Regardless of it being good or bad, you decide what kind of shock is good or bad. And that's all the news channels brought on to that. The elections brought on to that. You can see it in the way Trump talks. I'm sure if he went to be president, like, let's say 12 years ago, I can almost guarantee you he wouldn't talk the same way he does now. I can almost guarantee you he wouldn't.
So why do you think he speaks that way now? To get more attention, to get more coverage, or do you think he's just that type of guy who's off the cuff? He's also old, right? So at this point, he doesn't have much to lose.
Yes and no. I think that he. Hold on. Has Greg still been on that bike, Gabe asked? Yes and no. I've been failing pretty bad this week. Yeah,
you've been failing.
Yeah, I did 10 miles. I should be at least 20 or 30 miles in right now. So tonight, once you're about 4 vinos deep, you're gonna go home and bust out those 40 miles, right? I should. But what I was saying, like how his attitude is, the way he talks, he may present himself normally that way, like talking to his friends and stuff, but he's not gonna do it while he's working. So him being out president, he's gonna act differently than he is if he's at home eating dinner with his family. And that's what I'm saying. Like he may have not said certain things the way he says it now, rather than what he would have done, let's say 12 years ago. He would have maybe chose his words a little bit more carefully.
But why do you think he speaks that way?
Because I think it's acceptable now.
Okay, let's go back to 2016 when he first started running for president. He still said some wild things back then.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But why do you think he chose to go that route as opposed to being more of a professional?
For shock value, regardless of good or
That's
bad.
what I'm saying. Like, do you think
if you
he
make
wants to
fun
get
of
more?
someone, like if we're playing a sport and I kick a ball at you, it hits you in the face, everyone's gonna laugh at you. If I kick the ball and didn't hit you in the face, there's no reaction.
He did come up with these with these nicknames, right? Crooked Hillary, Sleepy Joe, all these.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
So
not something that I would want in a president, but I mean, it got the job done, I guess.
So this is showing balance power in the Senate. It looks about close to even right now.
So let me pull something up. Let me check the numbers so that we can share with the
67 Republicans.
People. Keep reading it. Keep reading
Senate. Oh no, sorry. It keeps flashing the information. It's hard to keep up on that. So 40 Democrats, 67 Republicans in the House. In the Senate, there's 43 Democrats, 37 Republicans. And they're just showing what's been added within the last update.
You might want to get closer to the mic because I could barely hear you.
Dude, there's not much closer I can get with this limtic mic. Let's see. Let me bring back up the electoral votes here. It hasn't moved since I left. There's 122 electoral votes for Joe Biden, 92 for Donald Trump still. Someone was trying to tell me that California is going to go...
turn red?
Yeah, go Republican. I don't think there's any.
I don't think so. So
I think there might be a big change in California, but I don't think it'll be big enough to overdo it and flip it. I think most places are pretty
liberal.
It's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Like if you think about it, a lot of Republican groups have been leaving, going to Arizona, and where else have they really been going? Arizona, Texas. So if you think about it, the states that have been kind of battling, like flipping back and forth, maybe going a little bit more conservative because so many people have been leaving and going to those states. So that's one of the other reasons I don't think California could flop. Regardless, it's just like if you look at conservative states, they don't flop because like Democrats don't move into those states in big enough numbers. Like I think I saw one of the states Trump won like 70%. Like that's not gonna. It'll take a long time for a state to swap to go the other way.
Right.
But I mean, there's other states that do the same thing for Joe Biden. So it's like you consistently know what's gonna happen. It's up to those states that always do change and go back and forth. But there's so many different things that go into the election that half the time, if you look at one of the numbers, it doesn't even matter.
Okay, so let's go into the matrix window. So at the moment we have like Greg said, Joe Biden is up 122 electoral votes. Donald Trump is 92. Look at the vote count, Greg. 27.
Yeah. The vote counts from what I was seeing is there was only like when I first looked at it, there was only about 300,000 difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Donald Trump had about 300,000 more than Joe Biden did in the vote count.
Mm-hmm.
But as the night's been going on, maybe within the last hour, he's gone up anywhere between 700 to 900,000 votes. So he's almost up 1 million. But if you think about it, through the United States, 1 million votes is like, it's a lot of people, but at the same time, it's not too far off. It could change.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty close.
Oh, we're looking at the
So,
Libertarian
Joe
Party. That's almost
Jorgensen,
600,000
0
people.
electoral votes, 600,000 people for Joe. Wasn't she the lady who wanted to legalize all drugs?
Might be. Some
Yeah,
people
right?
some people think that if you legalize all drugs, a lot of the issues will go away. Which I can see some of that, but at the same time, I think we're in a society that doesn't understand how to approach that. So I think that many generations will get screwed over, and then eventually it will make it better. Like, I think it's one of those things that would take a lot of time to even come
So
to a good
why do you say
conclusion.
that? You think people are just going to get hooked? And
Yeah, I think right away, if you just let people get it, like go down to the local pharmacy and buy acid whenever they want to, or go down and smoke some ayahuasca in the corner, like people are going to not know what to do. They're just going to go and do it, and people aren't going to be able to
maybe
understand when the time is to do it and when the time's not to do it.
maybe that's what we need. We just need everybody to go do ayahuasca once.
It'll be the purge, essentially. Like,
What do you mean the purge?
I think if you just legalize everything and just like, here you go and do whatever you want, I think it would be bad for generations.
But
Just-
okay, the counter argument to that is that if you look at like marijuana use now,
Mm-hmm.
just because it was legalized doesn't mean that everybody is doing it.
No, but you do, like, if you go out,
In
you can
fact,
see.
in
Go ahead.
fact, wouldn't you say that the more you tell people no, the more they want to do something? Like alcohol.
No.
Like alcohol, not everybody drinks, and it's been around for forever.
I think that is a mindset. The whole, if someone tells you you can't do something, that you're going to want to do it more, I think that's a mindset.
Well, when you talk about like the younger generation, people who have always been told no, and as soon as they turn adults, they just want to rebel, right? But if they grew up, like let's say your son, he grows up in an environment that says you can do whatever you want to do, but you should do it safely, or as long as you're not hurting people. Don't drink under the influence. Wouldn't you say that having that choice and not having to go back behind your back or anybody else's back, wouldn't you say that would be healthier in a sense?
No.
Because
Because
you
the
can
concept of not going behind someone's back is not what the issue. The issue is people view these things as bad, which a lot of the times when people do certain things like this, it is not for a good reason. Like, let's say shooting up heroin. I don't really see a good reason to do it. I don't see how that can really benefit your life or be good. Like, so in that sense, how is it that now it's legal and you're not going behind someone's back? Does it change the action of what you're doing?
Well, I think that with legalization would come some sort of education with it. It wouldn't just be, oh, we're just going to say everything's legal now, free for all. I don't think it would be like that. I think it would be more of an education. And then obviously, even now, as a parent, you have to go and educate your kids on these things, because even though they're illegal, they can still get them. So what would be better, to educate them, or keep it away from them until their friends eventually show them?
But see, now what are you educating them on? You're educating them on
the effects,
on why these things are okay and how to do it, or educating them on just telling them what these things do.
Okay,
because there's a difference. I don't think I've ever heard of a reason why heroin is good. I don't think I've ever heard of a reason why cocaine is good. I've heard of it makes you feel good, but the feeling good does not mean it's good for you. I feel good when I eat sugar. It's not good for me.
So I understand what you're saying, but we have to look at it as a big picture. A lot of things are classified as illegal. Some things that actually help people. It could be the use of marijuana. From what I hear, it helps people with whatever, with certain things. It could be psychedelics. I'm not endorsing psychedelics. I'm not endorsing every single type of psychedelic, but some of them seem to have a good effect on people.
So let's put it this way. Like I've said before, I'm not against using things for medical purposes, but that's the issue, is that if we're just saying that these things are okay, you're just saying that they're fine to use for any reason, and that's my point. Like I don't care if there was a use for acid in rehabilitating people from post-traumatic stress syndrome or something. Sure, let's use it. But
I think they use Molly for that.
Like, let's not just give it to the fifth grader who's now old enough to take it just because they want to try it.
Well, you're not going to be a fifth grader. That's the thing.
Well, no, I
like
just was using an extreme.
I know, but it's like alcohol. You have to be an adult, over 21, and by this time you should be well educated. You know, either from school or the parents or whatnot, in order for you to make your own decisions later, right?
Yeah.
See, the issue is not the whole what are people going to do, what are people going to smoke or take or whatever. It's the other side effects that illegal drugs bring, which is violence. You have a lot of violence because you get into gangs, you get into drug trafficking, you get into a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then talking about drug trafficking, a lot of the drugs that are coming from other countries, they're not the best. Like if you had a company here who was dedicated to give you pure MDMA, let's just say, or pure whatever, right? You would have a better quality of a drug. Maybe it wouldn't cause as many issues. That's the argument for legalizing everything, or decriminalizing drugs.
Okay, so see, like that's one of the things. I want to go back to this real quick. Just want to say the number. So the electoral votes is still 131 for Joe Biden and 92 for Donald Trump. But looking at the vote count, Joe Biden's at 28,700,000 and Donald Trump's at 29,600,000. So that's almost 1 million different in votes.
Right.
So I believe when Donald Trump was going against Hillary won the vote count. I don't know how much that will change the actual vote count. I figure it will, but a million is 2% difference, and I think there is like a 1 to 2% ratio of being like incorrect.
Right.
So that can still mean right now that there's no difference. Like
so
it's pretty much
check
even.
this out. So New Mexico is blue for the time being.
I think what they said is they're looking at Florida, Arizona.
Okay, so the swing states are actually down here.
Oh, it shows.
So Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Iowa, Michigan, Nevada, New Hampshire.
So you can see right there the popular vote right now. So in Florida,
Florida,
Trump is currently ahead by 4-ish, about 3%. So depending on the margin of error, I think usually it's between 1% and 2%. So 3%, Trump's kind of ahead right now. In Georgia, that's 42% to 56%. That's 14% difference. It looks like Trump is kind of ahead there.
Georgia, Iowa still hasn't come in. Michigan.
That's because I think
Nevada
Iowa is closer to our time, so their polls aren't even closed. Same with Nevada.
This is really interesting.
I think a lot of what, like the Joe Slomos like us who don't know how to piece all this together, I think we're gonna be looking at a lot of the West Coast states like Arizona,
right?
Iowa was up there. It's gonna be like the final counts Nevada, right there that are gonna kind of
right,
show us what's gonna happen. the slow people who don't know what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually something I wanted to talk about today. While we were voting, right? Mm-hmm. We realized how little research or how little we knew of all the things that were up in the ballot. With politicians, with certain people, certain candidates, with the propositions. It took us like 3 hours to really dive into it and figure out what was really going to affect us and how it was going to affect us. I mean, I don't know, dude. I think voting must be done in a better way. I don't think that these promotional ads that candidates, blast people with, I don't think they're the best.
Well, like, I'll give you an example for one. Now that you're talking about the propositions, I remember one specifically was about how property tax is determined for
people over
seniors.
55. Yeah.
Yes, but it doesn't only affect people over 55. So say I'm going to inherit my parents' house. Depending on the way I vote or the way this goes through, it's depending on what will happen for me. So I will either be able to inherit the tax rate they're at, or I'll have to pay a higher tax. So people at a younger age who would expect inheritance, so I may vote on this differently than my parents would, because when it comes down to that issue, we would never see eye to eye because they're not going to get an inheritance from anyone.
Right.
I would. So why would I vote the same way as them? So it's one of those things that with that one, everyone's just kind of like flip of the coin. Like, one's not necessarily horrible, the other one's not necessarily horrible, but which one's better for
everybody,
whoever's voting?
Right.
Yeah.
So this voting, I mean, it's every 4 years, so it's not that bad.
Well, this voting is
the primary election, right? It's only every 4 years, so I feel like people can take the time to do their due diligence to research candidates and find out how they will be affected by the outcome of the election. But in reality, like what I said before, when you really look at how these people promote themselves, and it's always if you vote for this guy, you're killing your children. If you vote for that guy, you're gonna make all people die. It's so vague. And so what is happening is that they're appealing to your emotional side.
Yeah.
To get a vote. And it's almost blind. It's a blind vote because you don't really know what's actually happening. Right? And so what do we do as Americans? I think that you have to educate yourself. It's really, really important to educate yourself in the political sciences. I don't know.
And one of the other big things too is just the way people present themselves. Like, even if you didn't go based off of policies or if you liked the specific person or not, and you just went off of fans, let's just call them fans, voters, supporters, whatever. If you just go off the actions of those people, could make you vote for someone you don't even want to vote for, which is very, very interesting to me. And I think it can be happening a lot in this election, regardless who you're voting for. If you vote for Joe Biden or for Trump, you could be voting for them only because the way that people are acting on one side or the other.
The way you perceive them.
Yeah. Because we're bringing all these little minority groups into the spotlight and making them the reason to not vote for the one person or the other.
Right. That's
like choosing which team you're gonna like in the NBA based off of the people who are on the bench and never play a game.
That's a good way to put it.
Isn't that a little crazy that that's how a lot of this is actually like decided? I can almost guarantee you that 20% of the people are just voting based off of what they've seen and not what they've researched.
Okay, so
like I can say that there was a couple props that I made an educated guess on that I didn't have a full opinion on.
So, thank you for sharing that with us.
What?
It's all, if shit goes sideways, it's gonna be Greg's fault. Oh no,
But that's the thing,
so
though. Is
actually,
you can't even
that's
really get like.
I was going to ask you about that. Prior to this week,
Mm-hmm.
how much research and how certain were you on who you were going to vote for, what you were going to vote for, and make your vote count for
Before this week,
before
I
this week?
was.
Because today is
I
only
could probably
two-
say 50% of what was on the ballot I knew previous to this week. The other 50% I did not know, and I was waiting to get my voter information. But like how I told you, I moved and never really got it. And
Mhm.
for some reason, every time I went on to kind of search all this stuff, I couldn't really find the real information. I just kept
It
seeing
was
like
like clickbait.
other country or not other countries,
What
other cities or other
people's opinions or
yeah, and I couldn't really
make
get it down. So I kind of, my roommate got his mail-in ballot, so I looked at that so I could finally get all the stuff researched and looked at from all different angles and finally make a decision on the other 50% of it. So
that's so crazy because and that's that you have some time right now, right?
yeah,
You have some time. And if it's difficult for you to do research on these things, imagine what someone who's working 2 jobs, how much time are they really going to have to do research on these important things that we need to vote on?
yeah.
Not much, huh?
So as we've been talking, I've been talking about the vote count, and from everything that I've been seeing, Trump's up about 1,300,000 votes right now. He keeps going up. I'd say probably about every 15-ish minutes, he gets 200,000 more votes than Joe Biden. So his count keeps getting higher and higher in the vote count. But like if you look up there at the
Wow, Joe, look at that.
the
Joe,
electoral votes haven't moved for a while. Yeah. How about you? Let's see.
look at
When, how, or why does the electoral votes go?
that. Joe Jorgensen. It's almost 700,000 people voted for her.
So all of her votes is
Kanye's not up there, man.
well, he's part of the other candidates.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But I think Harambe is also part of the other candidate.
Shut up.
I know one
Can
person
we
who's
click
voted
on
for
it?
Harambe.
We can't.
No, I wanted to click on that too to see it, but they don't want to track that because if you look at it, it's 133,000 people, right?
So they're gonna have to divide it to however many people.
Yeah, they're not going to waste their time on that.
I wonder how accurate this is actually. This graph actually is.
See, that's one of the things that I thought about. Like, who?
It says okay. So on the graph, let's go with New Mexico.
Okay,
It says
go to the
5
states, yeah.
electoral votes, 44% reporting. Does that mean of all the polls? Only 44% of them have reported?
No. So
what does that mean?
what you're looking at is the top one is for Joe Biden. So 57.1% of the votes that have been counted are going towards Joe Biden. 41% of the votes that have been counted are going for Donald Trump, and then it's giving you the vote count.
But what is the 44% up there on top of Joe Biden? What does that mean?
44% report. So I think what that is telling you is that 44% of the people who are registered to vote have been counted.
Huh.
So there are still 56% of people who are still voting.
Okay.
Or
So-
no. Sorry, it says reporting. So that's 67% of Texas has
38
been
electoral votes.
reported already. So right there, you're looking at there's 30% left. So let's just say 30% of the votes coming in goes one way. Let's just say 30% of the vote goes for Joe Biden, he'll win Texas. 30% of the vote goes to Donald Trump, he wins Texas.
Damn,
But
dude,
since
that's actually
so
really close. That's so
and there's
close.
30% left, it can go either way still. The 2%
Colorado
is not a big deal.
definitely
Colorado
70% reporting.
But see, this is 17%. No, that's 70% difference. That means that Donald Trump would have to get about 20% of the undone voting to take to take Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Highly unlikely.
So nothing for. So I think all the West Coast states. I think it closes at 8 p.m. today, right?
Yeah. So that's the thing, is that they're not really. They don't want to just throw those out, because since the polls aren't closed, they can't even get a good enough count. Which is kind of interesting to me, because shouldn't they have a count the second my thing gets scanned? So there should be some way of being able to.
I don't know. I don't know how that works. How does that actually work? How do they know for sure? And if there are errors, how do you figure? You're gonna have to, go through them, right? Like if it's an error, do you put it on a side?
See, that's the problem though, is they won't know. You don't know when an error is. If I walked up and I put my paper through,
mm-hmm.
and I left, then what? Is there an error? My vote doesn't count now. That's it.
So do you, for sure, this election will have a record amount of new voters? You think?
They've said there's a record amount of
registered
voters.
You think? I mean, also people right now are turning 18.
But I don't know if that means that there's a record number of voters. You know what I mean? So there's a difference of now more 18-year-olds voting, but maybe more 50-year-olds died this year, aka coronavirus, maybe.
Oh my God! You know what we needed?
You know what I mean?
I needed a cigar.
I actually was going to tell you that, and I was going to say you should get a couple.
Damn.
But
messed up. Uber Eats, just get cigars, Postmates, whatever.
Uber cigars?
Which was on the ballot.
Maybe after. What?
Independent contractors.
Oh,
that was one of the bills on the ballot.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's really interesting.
And that one's one of the weird ones too. It's we both drove for Uber. We saw how much you got paid. You got paid very minuscule. Like you could make it work if you're willing to go all in it. But even when you go all in it, you have to stay consistent at going all in it. That it's not like it's just it's kind of not there. As an
independent contractor, you depending on the business that you choose, if you're considered a sole proprietorship, you're considered a business. You're running a business, and if you're not running at 100%, how can you expect to be at 100%?
Yeah, but see, there's a difference though in you having your own business and you driving for Uber. You can't negotiate prices. You can't change any policy.
No, but
you can't improve anything outside of your personal experience. But that doesn't change how much you get paid.
Well, right. But so it's like us being a server. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You get a set amount of money, right?
Okay.
You're paid hourly, and depending on your service, that's really where your value comes in. Is the service that you provide. How are you going to get better tips than the other server next to you? What are you going to do to differentiate yourself in order to get paid more?
But see, I can say that a server is more of a personal owned business than an Uber driver is. The server has the ability to provide a better service to you, to have you return. But the server doesn't want you to return just at any random time so the business flourishes. They want you to return when they're working so they can get the tip. So now you as a server can tell these people when you're going to be there. Come back during this time. They can ask for you specifically. You don't have that option in Uber. You just get someone.
Yes.
So their experience with the person before you could have been hot garbage, and they don't tip Ubers anymore because of that. And now you have no choice.
Well, check this out. You have the choice to work anywhere in the state, or in the county. I don't know. I don't remember how it was set up.
County.
The county?
Yeah.
Really?
I believe it's county.
So anywhere in the county, are you going to be driving? Are you going to be going into an industrial park at midnight and get paid nothing, or are you going to be driving to an airport or at any downtown that has nightlife?
Sure.
So. That's where you come in. If you're an Uber who, you're going to, let's say you're going to downtown area. what are things that you can do to increase the value? Okay, one, you can provide free water to people. You can even go a step and beyond that and give out electrolyte drinks, that be Gatorade or things like that. You can even provide snacks. You can provide.
Scroll up.
We'll give it a minute. It ain't gonna change. What?
I just want to see the numbers as we're talking.
Oh, you can provide things that are gonna increase the value that you're providing, and you never know. Somebody might be generous enough to give you 5 stars and give you a good tip.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say you don't provide any of that. Why would anybody want to give you a good tip, a higher tip than usual? Why would anybody give you a $20 tip if you just pick them up and drop them off? And you don't talk to them. You don't make conversation. You don't engage them. So and then we're just talking about Uber and Lyft specifically. But independent contractors goes way beyond that. It goes into different industries. It goes into every type of industry. So the question's not about if we want Uber and Lyft to be here. It's actually more. It's more than that. Do we want people to have the choice to work for themselves and not have to be bound by contracts and certain things like that?
But I mean, that is being bound by a contract.
But you have control over it.
Not really.
Yeah, if you're an employee, you don't have the option to go and work at another place.
You have control over how many hours you want to work and when you want to work. Outside of that, you have no control.
Yeah, and I would say that nowadays that's way more popular than just working.
Slightly.
But it is. I think people prefer to have more control over their lives and their work situation than not.
Yes, but at the same time, you have to actually look at like the amount of money you make, the amount of money you have to spend to make sure it's even worth it for that alone, and then be able to pay bills on top of that.
But that's what I'm saying. There's so many different industries. Journalists are independent contractors.
Yeah, and those things are different because they can actually negotiate what they do.
But
so that's what that's what a contractor is. You actually can negotiate everything. You are your own business,
right? And so this is where it sucks.
Manipulates it. It's not really contractor.
But this is where it sucks, right?
Yeah.
This is where it sucks, is that it's grouped together. There's no way to make it any different. You have to group it together. There's no other choice. So that's something that's really important to know.
So it just updated for the vote count. Trump was up about 1,700,000 votes. It just updated, and he went down to only being up 1,100,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like almost 700,000.
No, it just won again. Just won again. That's a million vote, right?
No, that's 1-1. That's
1-1.
almost 1 million.
Right.
Actually, it is 1-1, but it just changed 600,000 votes.
Yeah, I mean,
towards Biden.
I'm not.
Those
so
things are changing.
This is gonna go back and forth. It's gonna go back and forth this whole night. It's just we don't expect to. I mean, I don't even expect to know who's gonna win today. I really don't. I mean, sure, you may see. I don't know, dude. Could there be like a tie, and then the popular vote is
that's the thing, that there's so many different things involved in it that I think what it falls down to at the end of the day is electoral votes. You get the 270, you win.
Right.
The whole point of the vote count is really just to say, hey, this is what the people actually wanted. So now the people who are part of the electoral vote can say, oh, this is what people want. This is probably how I should be voting. Because now, when I'm coming up for election, these people are probably not going to vote for me if I don't vote the way they want it. And so that's where our vote kind of comes in, is to scare the people who are voting for the president.
It's so weird, man.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to see this play out live. You know, this is one of the few times that I can remember. I can only maybe 3 presidential elections that I kind of paid attention to. This is by far the most.
Election nights I've always watched. I've always
All the
watched
time.
election nights,
Dude,
but I've never cared. Like,
What
I
the
never
outcome
really
was?
cared what the outcome was up to the second election of Obama. Is when I first kind of paid attention, and then I didn't really pay attention much until this year.
Right. I mean,
Because,
your
like-
age had a lot to do with it. I mean, right now it's Halloween. It was Halloween just a few days ago. There were other things on our mind besides the elections when we were younger.
Yeah, I guess. Thinking about Halloween, I don't know. I walked around for a while and I was like, I'm ready for bed. It was like 8 o'clock. And then we
Damn,
went out
dude.
and trick-or-treated even more.
How's your back from trick or treating? Did you pull the muscle or something?
I'm good.
You sore for the next 10 days?
No, it was fine.
Oh man,
It was interesting because I don't think there was as many houses doing it. There were plenty of houses. The kids got plenty of candy. And it did seem like there weren't that many kids out. But there was a
not at
lot of
all.
houses who you could tell wanted to participate but also wanted to stay away. So they would build these things. They would take like big PVC pipes from like Home Depot and they would put it up to like their balcony or their front door and it'd be pointed down and they'd
No
put candy
shit.
in the top and the candy would shoot down and the
Wow.
kids would just hold their bag there.
That's pretty innovative. That's
And
cool.
there was a bunch of the houses
That's
that
really
did that.
cool that they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because last podcast we were talking about, we didn't really know what was going to happen, huh?
Yeah.
Was it better than what you expected?
I wasn't really sure what to expect. It was there was a couple cool things, but it definitely was not the greatest of Halloweens. So like there was one house who they left a bowl out so kids could take from it, but they hid the bowl. So they had this table with a like a bloody blanket over the table and a sign that says, "If you dare, lift up the sheet."
Mm-hmm.
And the bowl of candy was under it.
Oh, that's funny. Pretty creative.
Yeah.
Well, they were very innovative.
Yeah. So a lot of the houses would have their lights off or they'd have a sign out front that said no candy. But
I felt, dude, to the house that I went to, just family, right? We were also not just Halloween, but we were celebrating a birthday.
uh-huh.
And when I pulled up to the neighborhood, dude, I was surprised at the amount of people that were actually out. It was crazy. I had to drive like 2 miles an hour just to get through people. Yeah, it was pretty interesting to turn out.
You can leave this up on there.
I'm
Just
gonna.
slide it over a
Well,
little
I
bit.
don't want to get pulled. I
won't.
want to.
It's not a video.
I want to tread lightly.
There's no treading. This is
I know,
not a
but-
video. This is not music.
But
You're
check
fine.
this out. Check this out. The last podcast we did, 2 podcasts ago, we were in an hour and 40 minutes, and they pulled it down.
That's because we were playing videos. This is not a video. This is not music. We can do it.
You sure?
Yes. 100%.
All right. Let me fix it really quick.
Yeah, just scoot it over to the middle a little bit. So, what is going on? So I actually, I signed up because I was gonna go to one of the political rallies, and so to do it, you had to get tickets ahead of time, so you had to try to sign up for it. So I signed up for it, and since that day, dude, I've gotten like 30 texts a day from the political team, like, "Oh, we need your support. We need your support. We need your support." And I'm just like, stop sending me messages. You're taking up all my battery.
That's funny. Yeah, man, this is so interesting to see this play out.
You know, you know how businesses rebrand themselves?
Yeah.
They change their logos.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that the parties don't rebrand in a sense, like change up the like change from a donkey and an elephant.
Well, I don't know if there's any history to that, but I would imagine that it was like, I mean, changing your mascot into what? From a donkey to a tiger to a dragon? Like,
yeah, dude, freaking someone riding a freaking bear with a bazooka launcher on their shoulder, like. But it looks like it did change the electoral votes. Trump has 98 and Joe Biden has 31, so Trump got another 6.
So let's see. Are there any more? Let's see this. Any different changes in terms of well, in voting in the different states? I think Montana just started coming in. Utah, Arizona. So at the moment, Montana has 3 electoral votes, 17% reporting. Joe Biden is up 57.7 and Donald Trump is 40%. But this is still 17% reporting. So there's there's quite a bit to go.
Yeah, and that right there, that's not even 100,000 votes total.
Right.
So there's
a lot.
There's a
Utah.
How many votes you got? A lot.
Wow, Utah is 44% reporting, 6 electoral votes.
I want to see Arizona.
Trump is up.
Arizona is one of the big ones that
the swing state.
That's
wow, 70% reporting. It's so far Joe Biden's leading 54.1%. Donald Trump is 44.6%.
It's about 220,000 votes higher for Joe Biden, and that's 10% difference.
Right.
Oh wow,
it's a lot.
That's not a lot for the number that I've said. 220,000 people is a 10% difference.
Huh.
So that means, kind of based off of that, 30% is only another 600,000 votes.
Right.
So go back to Arizona. So let's just say 600,000 of those votes go to Donald Trump. He wins. Half of that, let's say 300,000 go to Trump. Trump loses. So Trump would have to get a majority of these remaining votes to win Arizona. So it looks like Arizona is probably going Joe Biden. More than likely.
Mm-hmm.
Because 50-50 on the remaining 30% of the voters, Joe Biden wins.
Right. Yeah, interesting.
So Trump would have to get about 75% of those votes.
You have North Dakota, red. Wyoming, red. South Dakota, red. Nebraska, red. Kansas, red. Oklahoma, red. Arkansas, red. Louisiana, red.
So I'm gonna read how the electoral vote works in simple
terms.
terms.
Go ahead, man.
In the electoral college system, each state gets a certain number of electors based on its total number of representatives in Congress. Each elector casts one electoral vote following the general election. There are a total of 538 electoral votes. The candidate that gets more than half, 270, wins the election.
So right now we're at, how many are we at?
That's
31, 98.
Let's just say 231. So it's 229. It's 229.
Yeah, 229. So we're literally that's half, huh? That's about half? Half of the people voted?
No, it's not even half yet. 270 would be half. 270 total votes would be half the amount of the electoral college.
Oh, okay. I see.
You need 270 to win, but between them, they're not even at 270 yet.
Right.
So essentially, in the sense of where we're at, we're not even halfway there.
Mm-hmm.
Unless Joe Biden just got 140 electoral votes in like half a second, which I don't think any of that's ever happened before. So highly unlikely. But
we'll see.
But that's the other question now is who has the votes. So it's each elector casts one electoral vote following the general election. So really, 538 people have the say in who becomes the next president, in a sense. But now, if those people vote the wrong way, essentially vote against what the popular votes are, those people might get voted out when it comes to be their turn. I mean, and that's where that balance kind of comes into play, and that's why a lot of the political, like, that's why we keep switching back and forth between Republican president, Republican, Democrat. Mm-hmm. But it's usually pretty consistent. It's usually like Republican 2 years, Democrat 2 years, maybe Democrat for another. Sorry, I'm not saying 2 years. I mean 2 terms. Mm-hmm. So 8 years. So let's just say Republican, Democrat, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Democrat, Republican. Like, it flip flops.
Right. Yeah, this is.
So it's like we need to catch up to switch it the other way is what it seems like. So I'm curious who the 538 people are. And if you look at the 538 people and kind of just find out who votes which way, you kind of know where the electoral votes are going for the most part.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's any. Yeah, I wonder if there's any. Well, you can't tell, right? So I don't even know how many electoral votes are in every state.
So go over to New York.
New York
says there's 29 electoral votes that have been put in, mm-hmm. and I can search how many electoral votes in New York. There are 29 electoral votes in New York. So the electoral votes are all in for New York. I think when a state goes a complete color,
mm-hmm. that means
that all their votes are in. Interesting. So when all their votes are in, so like go to North Dakota. So right there,
it says 3 electoral votes.
North Dakota electoral votes. North Dakota is kind of, most of it is empty. So they may not have that many electoral votes. North Dakota has participated in 39. No. How many votes does North Dakota have? Keep forgetting to say electoral votes. What the?
So we're still at 131, Joe Biden, 98, Trump. Let's go look at what the progress is with Joe Jurgensen. She's at 847,000 popular votes. Look at that. 1.1%. Who's Howie Hawkins? Green Party? Huh.
Why is this? How many electoral votes does North Dakota have? That's weird that for some reason North Dakota won't show me exactly how many they have. Okay, yeah. They only have 3 electoral votes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So North Dakota, go over. I don't. That's the one thing that I'm curious though, is if they have 3 and it shows red, does that red as in Donald Trump? Does that mean that all 3 voted for Donald Trump,
or it was 2-1?
2-1.
Mm-hmm. Maybe.
And if that's the case, then I think if you scroll down, I think it'll show that.
If I scroll down to...
Like, you just roll down like more and more. Because this is going to be the general vote. Or no, it says right there. Electoral votes. Can you click on any of those?
For where?
It doesn't matter. Just any of the states. Go above where the state is. Highlight over the state.
Nope.
No? Oh, okay. Maybe if you scroll down more.
Nope. Top stories, no.
Videos, no.
Huh.
There is an arrow next to them.
Where?
On the far right.
Oh, over here? So let's say Arizona. Let's see.
Okay, so yeah, if you look on the map, it shows Arizona and all the different districts. I think each of the districts is a vote.
Tucson, Phoenix, and
So go back and go to, let's just say, go to the North Dakota.
North Dakota.
If what I'm saying is correct, then it'll be split up into 3 different sections.
So
No.
Nope.
But that's confusing. I don't see. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's so much going on that, like, I don't even know.
I wouldn't even try to figure this out. I honestly, I don't know how this works.
Yeah.
Was this ever taught in school, dude? Because I'm pretty sure I never paid attention.
I think it was, but I think it was more like crash course. And it was like half a year.
They should do a voting class.
You took the economics and you took the United States government class, but it was like half the year, and no one really paid attention except for like the 1 or 2 kids who were in like debate class. So looking at the popular vote now, Joe Biden is at 37,366,354. Trump is at 38,896,428. So that's a 1.5 million lead, 1.4 million lead for Donald Trump again. So that, I don't know. It's kind of consistently like Trump's going up, and then Joe Biden kind of catches up a little bit. And then
I'm telling you, this is going to go back and forth the whole night. Back and forth the whole night. So
I'm going to see how many registered voters in the United States. How many registered voters in the United States?
What's our population right now? I guess I'll check that out.
I can do it. Population of United States. 328 million.
Yeah.
So that's only about 80 million. So in that sense, we still have 248,000 possible voters. If you think about it, though, that same population, which includes kids.
Right.
So
I would deduct a lot of kids.
I'd probably say 75% of that is kids. Or people who are not old enough to vote. I think there are more people under the age of 18 than there are above the age of 18. I could be wrong about that, but...
I was like, where are you getting your... What's your source, Craig?
Because people from the age of 18 and on have only died. There haven't been more people put into the earth. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know what the death rate...
There will always be a 1-year-old. There will not always be an 80-year-old. Damn.
Especially in the United States, huh?
Try to get the charger.
Greg's struggling over here. I think the vino got to him.
Let's get some more.
The only thing I'm voting for is this red wine right here, dude. By the way, what was the brand again? Quilt? By who?
Napa Valley. You know Napa Valley, right?
Well, Napa Valley is not the brand. That's a place.
Well, the name of the wine is Quilt.
Quilt.
The fabric of the land. But I think Quilt is the name of the wine.
Winery.
The fabric of the land is more of just
the winery?
Adding on to it. No, I think the wine is from Napa Valley.
100%.
And I think Napa Valley is also a brand.
I think you think so?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, let me see the bottle. I'll check it out. And then, by the way, you were giving me a crash course on how to serve wine earlier.
You know what? No, I think the brand is Quilt.
Nobody can hear you.
I know, because I'm leaning
So it
forward.
says
I think
Quilt,
the brand is
the
Quilt.
fabric of the land might be the motto.
Because if you look at the top of the wine bottle, it
Okay.
says Quilt.
So the winemaker is actually Joseph J. Wagner. It's produced and bottled by Quilt Wines, Rutherford, California. So
Rutherford.
It's
Rutherford.
You're 100%?
100%.
How do you know?
Because I know that brand.
But you've been there? You sure you're not?
I've not been there, but I know because it's a popular place to get wine.
Well, it says Rutherford.
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 How's it spelled?
Ford. Ford.
No.
Rutherford.
Yes, Rutherford.
Rutherford. No. Anyway.
All right.
So, hey, what does this mean that it contains sulfites?
Sulfite?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that a mineral?
I don't know.
Wine with
Weaving
sulfite.
the smooth and structured element of Petit Lira Merlot
So
Zinfandel.
Zinfandel, bro. Are you kidding me? That's like
Zinfandel
yeah, Zinfandel.
and Petit Verdot.
That last one, I think we're just reading it wrong because it's kind of written in like a sign language. I want to say it's Merlot.
What do you mean sign
but it
language?
looks like a V. Not sign language. Cursive. My
I'm
bad.
telling you, I think the wine's got up.
So
Dude, we're almost done with this wine.
You asked about sulfate.
Yeah.
Or sulfite. So I said, or it says sulfite-free wines do not exist. It is literally, this says literally twice. It is literally impossible to make wine sulfite-free. Sulfites are also a preservative, but the fermentation process doesn't produce enough sulfites to create the legendary cellar wines rich people love bragging about. That didn't make sense, did it?
I think this is someone's opinion who has no idea about wine.
But no, I think sulfite is something that happens in the process of making wine. So if you try to make wine without having sulfite be there,
It's virtually
it wouldn't
impossible.
be wine.
Right.
Is what I think it's trying to say. So
sulfites are a side effect of fermentation, basically.
So yeah, so while most people can tolerate sulfite without issue, some may experience stomach pain, headaches, hives, swelling, and diarrhea. If you are sensitive to these compounds, opt for red wine or wine made without added sulfites to help limit your consumption and prevent negative side effects.
Interesting.
So
you learn something every day.
Maybe I asked the wrong question. Sulfites are a food preservative widely used in winemaking thanks to their ability to maintain the flavor and freshness of wine. While they're found in many foods and beverages, they're particularly associated with a long list of side effects related to wine consumption, including the dreaded wine-induced headache.
The wine-induced hangover. Basically, right?
Yeah. But I guess there are times where wine upsets my stomach. I think it has to do when a wine is what is that called? When it's fuller body, that means that it's less sugar, right? And it's stronger on the taste, which means it's usually a little bit more bitter, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when a wine is more like that, which I think this is more like, my stomach's fine. But when it's sweeter, I think it's too like sugary, too acidy for me.
I don't know what the science of winemaking is, so I have no idea. My opinion on this is invalidated. All I know is that my favorite types of wine is the Cabernet Sauvignons. That's it. That's not how you say it
again.
Cabernet Sauvignon.
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 Sauvignon or Savion?
Sauvignon.
Savion.
Put this back up on the screen. Why do you keep taking it down? You're not gonna get kicked off. This is not a video.
It's not about that. It's about we're talking about wines, and so we're what's going on, man?
Whoa, he is up one. Oh no, yeah, he's back up to 1,700,000 vote count higher. Donald Trump is 1,700,000 votes up. So he gained that lead back again. That's interesting. But no more electoral votes. I wonder where the cutoff for the electoral votes comes in. And I think that's what decides on if we know who the president is or not tonight, is based off of how many of those electoral votes we see casted.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
And I think the reason people are saying we won't see the kind of a clear winner tonight is because a lot of the people who are voting with the electoral votes, who are kind of the swing people, won't vote today. They'll wait for like the last moment to vote.
You think that's a strategy? Okay, so
Sure, to get what they want.
A few podcasts ago, we were talking about the social dilemma and the influence of social media and media effects, or the media's effect on people's psyche, mentality, and psychological effect on people, right?
Uh-huh.
Have you... Okay, so from the last conversation that we had, have you been more aware of your use on social media? So for me, a few days ago, I'm sitting down and I'm doing work, and I'm not notified, because every time I get notifications on my phone, I on my phone setting, I'll just click don't notify me or whatever. Like, don't show notifications for this type of notification, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been pretty good about that. But so it wasn't that. It was a thought of sending you guys as a group, sending you guys something. Like I forgot what it was, but I had I had an itch. Like, I wanted to send you guys something. I can't remember what it was. It was earlier last week. But the thing is that once I sent you guys that, I immediately just went down a rabbit hole. First it might have been like Snapchat, then it was like Instagram, and then Twitter, and then Facebook, and then next thing you know was I'm on like YouTube videos, and then I'm like looking at the YouTube comments, and then I thought to myself, I was like, wait a minute, there's I'm like, wait a minute, so what just happened? It was like, it's a slippery slope for me. So
you were gonna send us something, and then you got lost in researching this something that you never sent us.
Yeah, but it wasn't even just what I was. It morphed into something else. It was just morphed into feeding my brain more information of things that were irrelevant to what my initial thought was. And so I'm there sitting down, and I'm thinking, after watching The Social Dilemma on Netflix,
mm-hmm.
and finding out that the AI is literally getting smarter the more you use the platform, right? It's figuring you out more and more the more you interact with this platform.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there and thinking, man, there's no real answer to this but to stop using it, period. Because what it does is that it creates a sort of false reality, mm-hmm. that's catered to what it thinks you want and what it thinks you like. And so the fact that I couldn't stop myself from going from one thing to another, to a different thing to another, mm-hmm. means that they have already outsmarted me, and I'm sure millions of other people, into thinking a certain way when it comes to this election.
Okay.
So, you and I have many of the same friends on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever. But literally, our feed, if we were to compare our feed right now, I probably wouldn't find your feed interesting, and you probably wouldn't find my feed interesting, because both our feeds are different and they come in differently. Like you'll find things that are more relevant to what you've searched in the past than I will.
Okay.
So if you spend some time on a certain political candidate or you tend to search them up more, you're going to be getting more of their feed, and then you're going to be getting more of the opposition feed, like oh, this candidate's corrupt or that candidate's corrupt or whatever it may be, right? Whatever political ad, right, on the other side. And I'm going to be getting something different. So it's literally cutting out our views in different. It's like I don't know, dude. It's really hard to explain. What I see on my side of social media is 100% different from what you see on your social media.
Yeah.
And I don't think people realize that. I don't think people realize the fact that we are literally being manipulated daily. The more you, it's like what the guy says, Tristan, I think. He says there are 3 AIs that are used to create this virtual voodoo doll of you. And so every time you sign on and you interact with the platform, the more you feed it details of you, the more it creates this virtual avatar of you. So every time you sign on, it's like planting a hair, eyes, eyebrows, limbs, and then eventually it's going to outsmart us. It's going to be so good at predicting what you're going to click on that we're going to be, I mean, we're already kind of enslaved to it. The fact that we're all here on a social media platform looking at elections is the basically the it's a teller. Like, hey,
I disagree with that. Just based off of that premises there.
What?
Because this is just information. This is not like after this election's over, we're not sitting here looking at election information. That's done with.
No, but you're going to be sitting there.
When it comes to entertainment, I think that's the case. When it comes to trying to change people's opinion on something, I think that's the case.
Okay, so
but when you're just using it in a sense of like this, or
let's go back. Let's go back 4 years.
Figure something out.
Let's go back 4 years. 2016, Trump wins. 98% of the media was against Trump, right? Would you agree? 90%. Every channel, sure. They weren't really any like bipartisan.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Sure.
Right. So from then, the media was kind of one-sided, biased. Wouldn't you say? Don't you think that had a lot to do with today? Priming us for this election in a way?
Sure, but I mean, it's the same thing. Like if you listen to how we've been talking tonight, you can guess very easily who we would probably be voting for, just based off of the way we've been saying things. Regardless,
I haven't said much. Maybe you, but I haven't said much.
We haven't said who we would vote for, but there's things that we have said that passively tell the people who are watching that we would vote one way or the other. Very, very minute things that we've said. Tell them.
I would say I think I could tell. I could tell from listening to you. I could tell.
And you can't get away from that. You just can't. People have opinions on things, and regardless if they try to tell you what they're reporting on, they're going to report it in a way that makes their side seem more reasonable.
Okay, my point on this is the fact that nobody has however many hours it takes to research certain candidates and propositions. And so it becomes this clickbait headline information gathering. You were voting for a certain thing. Like what you said earlier, you know, the proposition, what was it? One of the propositions had something to do with tax savings for the elderly, but it didn't really go into detail on how it would affect the younger generation who will not be inheriting those homes.
No, see, this one was a lot more clear. This one was like, this is what it does. This is what it would do, both ways. But the whole point of it was that you didn't really know, like, you knew how people would vote, but there's no clear side of like thinking this person is right, this person's wrong. Like it's pretty straightforward. Like, this is more of an opinion prop than anything. It has nothing to do with people voting because it may be the right thing or it may be the wrong thing. This is like, it's better for younger people to vote this way. It's better for older people to vote this way. Hands down, that's it. Choose your side. There's no younger person who's going to vote on a bill for older people to reduce their taxes. But now when they inherit something at the younger age, they're gonna have to pay more taxes later on.
But
no one's gonna vote for the older person.
But not everybody's inheriting.
Sure, but then at the same time, then they don't care, and they're only gonna vote in the way that could possibly benefit them.
Because I think what it was an addition to Prop 13, which was basically putting a cap on the property taxes that that the state is allowed to charge you as a property owner.
Yes. But it's not, I don't believe that it was changing anything specifically to that.
It was like an addition to it.
It was changing things that have to do with a certain age group. I think, and so that's where it became more of a, whatever age group you're in, you're kind of voting that way.
Part of this is that this is what I find silly. These propositions and the bills that are trying to be passed, some may have good things with a lot of bad things, or some may have bad things with a lot of good things. And go
ahead.
Okay, because you're smiling.
No, I was just saying, like, that's huge, dude.
What?
Joe Biden hasn't moved for a while, and now Trump's at 108 and Joe Biden's at 131.
I'm telling you, we're gonna go back and forth the whole night. We're gonna see Joe Biden jump, I'm sure.
With the electoral, though, it's not the same way as the vote count. It's not gonna be that.
Yo, what's up, Doug? Thank you for joining us today. What do you think? Has this controversial election, has it affected you in any way? What's it out there in your industry? What have you seen from people that you interact with on the daily? Craig and I were just talking about how, well, for the past week, we've been kind of like trying to do research on things for the election, but prior to that, it was like non-existent. And so people are right now are, I don't know, I guess it would be more of like they're not hyper, they're more like anxious to know. And there's a lot of things going on right now that uncertainty, especially with the whole COVID thing. That, dude, how crazy is that, Greg? That on election year COVID happens.
Well, there's this thing that said that there's always a big issue put on in an election year. Every time there's a big issue, something happens. Something big happens. War, COVID, what's the other one? Like a terrorist attack, national disasters, and
do you think
that's one of the things that can happen? Like, some things you can't control. Like, you can't control a national disaster. Like, it's gonna happen.
Or can you? Harp,
I guess. But that's one of the things. There's some things that you can't control. Some things will happen no matter what, and it's out of your hand. And a lot of the decision comes in and how someone handles it, if you like it or not. And also, Doug, I saw your comment about my hat, and I'm still wearing it.
Yeah, it was how many episodes, dude? That was like episode number
That was
3.
a long time ago. Yeah.
That was a year and something
That's
odd months.
That was when I said I shaved my head, right?
No, you were. That was like you shaved your head like mid this podcast. I think that
That's when we were still
at
downstairs.
no, back then we were at the office. We were in
Was
Newport
that
Beach.
still over there?
Yeah, we
Okay.
were in Newport Beach, and the whole argument was because we were trying to find you a lady, and then it was like, well, how do people perceive you? And so we went into this like rabbit hole with wearing a hat versus not wearing a hat. But you do you, boo. You know, you do whatever you want. Like,
I ain't your boo.
well, you're someone's boo.
I wish.
You're
Hey,
Halloween.
Steve, how you doing?
Yeah, I mean, so right now, man, that's awesome. So Doug is, look at him. He's one of those, what do you call him? He's part of the community now. He's been catching up with the old podcast. I hope that you see how far we've come. I don't think people have been able to see that unless you've been following us for such a long time now, huh?
Yeah.
Back then we got like 5 views on things.
We should do a segment where we go to our old videos and make fun of ourselves.
And make fun of ourselves?
Because we can play our own content. We can play our own videos.
Oh, we can?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because we give ourselves permission to do it.
Yeah, the whole YouTube thing is interesting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can play videos, you just have to get the creators' consent to do it. And then they have to somehow say there's consent. It's very weird.
But how do you get that? Like,
You can do it. It's like
email?
You
By
can
email?
send Kanye a message saying, "Hey, we want to use your song. Can we use your song in our?"
but how
YouTube?"
will YouTube know you went to Kanye?
Usually, there's a way you source it. Like you would put it in the description, and or
Okay.
you would have licensing. So sometimes, like if you did a live show, you could get kicked off, but you can go and show them, "Hey, I have the licensing for this," and they'll give it back to you.
Interesting. So anyway, thanks for being an avid listener. We
Appreciate
really
you.
appreciate the support. We're trying to get this podcast to another level. Hopefully 2021 is nothing like 2020 and we're able to achieve the next level of this podcast with better quality video, better quality content and topics. You know, I think the topics have been pretty good so far. However, I definitely think that the community needs to get more engaging
Yeah.
in a sense, in order for us to be able to tailor a little bit of our content towards our audience. Right now, I know for some people don't care about elections. It's fine, but I just think that it's definitely important in many ways. You know, it's more important than not, and so that's why we're doing this today. The rabbit hole series, I've been having a lot of fun with those.
Yeah.
You know, there's many things that unfortunately our last podcast on the rabbit hole series was taken down by YouTube, but yeah, I mean, I hope to bring it to another level where it's you're gonna be able to get it anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, so even if YouTube had taken us down, it might still be up on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. So if you haven't already, you know, if you don't have time to watch the live stream, I highly recommend you go check us out on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on Stitcher, Google Podcasts. I think we're literally on every platform audio wise. And hopefully, just hopefully, we start building a community, because that's what we want. We don't want an audience to listen to us on our opinions of the world. I want to engage with people. I want to know what people are going through, what are topics that are important to you, so that we can touch up on them and kind of give our perspective on those topics. Otherwise, you know, what's the point of sitting here and just listening to Greg and I talk about things that, you know, are highly uneducated guesses on
Sometimes
certain
that's
topics.
the fun stuff, though.
Yeah, I mean, we can speculate all we want, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to make sure that we get points across that are important. You know, like the election for us, honestly, it's important, and it's great and all. I think it should be important to a lot of people because it does affect everyone, especially local government. But we're not going to get into why we pick these people. I understand that some of my friends don't agree with me, and I don't agree with them, and that's fine. We continue being friends. Actually, Luis, yesterday, he was here. We were talking about how some people in his circle have stopped talking to people because of their party preference.
Mm-hmm.
That's very unfortunate because, and what I told them was, if they stop talking, it means that they weren't really friends from the beginning. Because I value someone's relationship over their opinion.
Yeah.
They might be great people. Maybe their opinions are shitty, but that doesn't mean they're not good people. Right? And for me to say, hey, just because you think this way, I'm going to cut you out of my life. I think that's pretty, I don't know if that's self-righteousness or what you would consider that. But anyway, we just support. We're glad for the support. Thank you for tuning in. It means a lot.
Thank you.
If you have any feedback, like Greg's hat, let us know.
Yeah, hit us with another rabbit hole episode. We'll deep dive into something. But I want to get back to some of the numbers.
Okay, let's go.
So I'm looking at the vote count. It just updated right now again. So Joe Biden is at 41,310,388 votes. Donald Trump is at 43,811,394 votes. So Donald Trump is up 2,500,000 votes.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty
I
big.
think he just jumped now.
That's 3%. So the margin of error is 2%. He's
so Greg. Would you say that 200 million people are voting? More?
If we're looking at 358 million in the United States,
more than 200.
Let's just say maybe 75% of them could vote.
Why don't you take a look? What's the?
I couldn't find
how many youngers. I wonder
approximately how many registered voters in the United States.
I wonder what the numbers are when it comes to this. So I wonder if it's 250 million people that can vote.
Or let's just look at how many people voted in 2016.
There was a lot of people that did not vote though.
Yeah, but you can get a rough estimation of how many people voted and be like, this is what you could expect.
Right.
How many people voted in 2016?
By the way, thanks, Doug, for spreading the word. That means a lot to us. Again, we're trying to expand this podcast and create a community around just free thought and how we think about things and our perspective on the world. And we should definitely do a barbecue. Get a couple brews in and have a good time. That's what life's about.
So this says here, around 138 million Americans voted in the 2016 presidential election.
How many?
138 million.
Okay.
So this also says, however, those 138 million Americans only make up about 58.1% of our voting eligible population. So about 40% of the people who are of age who can vote didn't vote. 40%, dude. That's half the country doesn't vote.
Right. That's what I was saying. That in 2016, a lot of
that makes up that 40% can change an election. So when people say, "Oh no, my vote doesn't really count," 40%.
That's right. That's crazy. That's a
40%
lot of people that were silent. That did not vote.
What if those 40% had similar mind? That would be landslide, whichever way they had a similar mind of, regardless if it's Democrat or Republican. If that 40% decided to be Democrat, Joe Biden would have won already. If that 40% decided to go for Trump, Trump would have won already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
So it can matter.
right.
So 138 million, and we're about 80,000. So there's about 50 million more people voting. So if you split that up between the two of them, right now Trump would win by 2 million votes.
So I'm gonna
If
take down this matrix window because I'm gonna take a look at something else really quick. But
if
we'll be
Joe
right
gets
back with this.
30% of those votes, then it'd probably be slightly in Joe's favor.
Mm-hmm.
If Trump got 30% of the votes, Trump wins.
Right.
So we're looking at. I mean, we're not near the end.
No, man, no. There's a lot of people that still need to vote, or that their votes need to be
Well, I
counted.
mean, voting ends in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, here, I guess Alaska and Hawaii may still have an hour left of voting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
it's interesting.
when their time ends, but
Okay, I don't know. I could really see what I was looking for. So we're gonna move on.
he's almost
You
Trump is almost up 3 million votes now.
yeah.
Whoa.
You know what I wonder, Craig.
Huh.
Oh, did you? So you heard about the asteroid that was supposed to hit the Earth that didn't actually? That was like
Yeah, was that supposed to be today or that was yesterday, wasn't it? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I saw it in the sky. Did you see it?
no.
Yeah.
You actually saw it?
Yeah, I saw it.
Was it actually bright and big?
Yeah, where do you think Steve came from?
Shut up.
That's why he's wearing his helmet, so he didn't get hit by it.
So, you actually saw it or not?
Nah.
Because I heard it wasn't a big deal.
I don't. I think what it was that it was headed our way. So if it went on a specific course, it would have hit us. But I assumed it was a very low percentage chance that it was going to head on that course.
Right.
And so eventually they're just like, yeah, it's not coming.
So, Greg, I'm going to hand you the magic wand because I'm going to go take a massive... I'm going to go relieve myself.
He's going to go vote in the toilet bowl.
I'm just going to go pee really quick. I'll be right back.
Cast his at-home ballot. Wait, I can't see the mouse, so I don't know what's going on. Actually, I don't think I can move the mouse from this far. Is it moving anywhere?
I think it's just you have to have like a solid top or something.
Oh wait, I saw it move. Something's moved. Oh, you're moving the.
No, you moved it.
All right. Well, I'm gonna move over to your microphone then, because this won't work this far, and I'll go through the numbers. Oh, Joe Biden got some more electoral votes. Don't look at my butt. Oh, it's so tight in here. Yeah, so Joe Biden got 135, or not 135. He got 4 more electoral votes. Let's see here. I'm gonna scroll down. Again, Arizona 73% reporting. Florida has 97%. I think they had 38 electoral votes, is what I thought I saw. But 97% reporting, I believe, is the electoral votes, not the popular vote count. So we're looking. Arizona still has more to come. Joe Biden is currently winning Arizona. Texas, Donald Trump's got it. For now, it's only 4% difference. 73% reporting. California, I believe, has 55. And Joe Biden is more than likely going to get California. That's a lot of electoral votes his way. I think Joe Biden will get Washington too. But yeah, he just went up 4 more electoral. Yeah. Oh, let's move. It's so tight.
Is it tight or is it?
I hit the projector. If you want to move it.
Oh, damn it. Keep going, keep going.
You need the charger?
I'll take it.
I'm at 84.
So, Greg.
Yeah.
So, what's new? You said that there was a certain change right now?
The change is Joe Biden got 4 electoral votes.
So, Robert wants to know who you voted for.
Who I voted for?
Yeah.
Robert, you're just trying to find out my personal information.
I was telling Greg, I'm like, you know, all of our listeners are going to stop listening to us because you voted for Kanye West.
I'll put it this way. There's a few things that, like, there was only one person going for it, and I didn't really know much about it. So I wrote it in Harambe because I wasn't going to vote for someone because I didn't know the opinion on it. Because there was like three positions that only one person was going for. So I was like, I'm not going to vote for that person just because it's the only person. And I didn't necessarily, there was not much information on him. So I just said, oh, it just jumped.
Wow, look at that. So Biden now is at 209 electoral votes. Trump only went for 112. So Washington, Oregon, California.
Can you scroll over California? I want to see how many votes went in. Because if California has
55 electoral votes.
And I think that means that 55 electoral votes went to him just now. And I think that was his biggest win. And I think this is where it gets interesting. Is based off of a lot of the information I've seen and what we're looking at, I don't think Joe Biden's going to move much now. I think he has the majority of the votes he's going to get. And I think now Trump's going to move a lot. And they're going to get about even. And then the fight's on.
That's really interesting. You know, Robert and Gabe, if you're listening, who did you guys vote for and why? Put it down in the chat. Let us know what your thoughts are. And did you guys, prior to this week, how much knowledge on the election do you have? How much did you know of every candidate and all the propositions prior to this week? I'm asking only because, like Greg and I mentioned earlier today, we actually did most of the research the past couple of days, right?
Only for some of the stuff. I knew who I wanted for president. I knew who I wanted for my city.
What I mean is for local government. How much of the propositions, how much research had you done prior to this week?
For the propositions, not too much, but
not too much, right?
No.
So I'm really interested in knowing. What your guys' experience was in terms of researching and basically how what your process was for researching prior to this week.
He's saying that your mic is low.
Yeah, that's what I heard, but I think maybe I'm just going in and out.
You sound louder than I do. But maybe it's because I'm used to my voice.
Is that better?
You seem so timid in saying it. Okay, so I think Joe Biden just got one more electoral vote. No, he was at 209. Never mind. So now we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 states.
Oh, you know 13 why?
13 states that are undecided. So
you know why it was low? Is because I had muted myself. I never unmuted myself.
You were
until
muted?
now. I was muted this whole time.
So everyone was hearing it through this. So when I went over there, I was muted too. Oh well. We're just hanging.
It was only a minute or so. So, Greg,
Huh.
do you think there's aliens?
Do I think there's aliens?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. It's like one of those things like do you believe that dinosaurs existed? I don't care if they did. I don't care if they didn't.
You don't care at all?
No.
Why not?
Because it doesn't change anything.
You mean your curiosity.
I mean, I'm curious if there were velociraptors that walked the world and freaking shredded people up, and you would hear this, and then you see trees moving from like 6 miles away, and some T-Rex is running at you. Yeah, I'm curious if that was real, but
you're indifferent because
it doesn't matter.
Because it doesn't matter to you now.
Sure, it's just like tornadoes. Tornadoes, I don't care about tornadoes because I've never seen one, and technically to me they don't exist in a sense
because you don't experience them in every year.
Yeah, so if an alien abducted me and started probing me in the butt, I'd probably care a lot more. Like it's hard to care about things that aren't in your immediate. It kind of is.
Yeah,
like you can care about things, like I don't want bad things to happen to people, but like past that, you don't have too much of an opinion. Or at least, I don't know. Maybe I'm different and I don't.
Isn't that funny how that works? Is that if you're not immediately being affected by it, you're kind of oblivious to the
yeah
to the issue, right?
Yep. And then that's why the voting is always so different. Is that everyone's voting for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And one person may vote because it's better for the job. One person may vote because of religious reasons. One person may vote because of, I don't know, just because they were like, I need to vote because people on social media are doing it. So it's,
I did see that.
So much difference.
Did you see all your feed? Everybody said, "Oh, I voted.
Yeah,
I voted. I voted." That's like the trend. It became a trend.
I took my kids to the park, and I didn't know there was a ballot box, and so I was just gonna watch the ballot box just because I've heard like so many weird things happening, and so I was looking. I just kept looking over, and so what I see them walk up to the thing and put their face down by the little slot they put the ballot in, put their ballot next to their face, and take their picture. And I was just like, this is like voting in a sense is important, but it's not special that you voted. Anyone can do it. It's not like an achievement.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Nowadays, I think it's viewed more as what is it called?
I think that's something we were talking about, the social dilemma. I think that's something that got inspired by that. We got manipulated in thinking that it's special that we voted. It's not special that you voted. It's important that you vote, but there's nothing special about me voting rather than your next door neighbor voting. None of us did anything more special than the other.
Well, you could say that one voted and the other one didn't. So even if you don't agree with each other, I think what people are trying to say is that you highlight the fact that both of you voted, even if you do have different opinions over it.
Oh, sure. It's fine that we both voted. I'm just saying the Instagram stuff, taking the picture of yourself voting, it's kind of...
I forgot what it's called. I forgot what it's called. I don't know.
Hysteria?
No, not hysteria. I forget what it's called. It's when you're signaling to other. Oh, what is it called? Signaling to other people, saying, "Hey, I did this."
Signal virtuing.
Signal virtual. Virtual signaling is, dude. This wine, dude. It's got me going.
You got that white girl brain now.
Yeah, serve me a pumpkin spice latte now, and we'll call it a night.
Oh, that's funny. You know, it's so interesting that pumpkin spice latte was not the talk of the town this year. I didn't hear one thing about Starbucks this year. Starbucks is Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween. Starbucks is everywhere. Starbucks did this on their cups. Starbucks did that on their cups. Starbucks said this. I haven't heard anything about Starbucks.
This year?
Yeah.
Wow.
Not a single thing. Starbucks is out of fashion now. Peace out. Move on to the next thing. You know what I did hear about? Joe Biden this, Trump that, Joe Biden that, Trump this. Like,
do you know that for this year, for in the travel business or in the travel industry, people don't actually travel as much. I mean, nowadays because of COVID, right? But prior to COVID, generally speaking, people would not travel on election years. You would see a downward trend of traveling on election years. And so I think that people take this pretty seriously, as they should. But as we just found out in 2016, 40% of those people did not.
Well, isn't the thing about the traveling too is that there's more unrest during election years? Like I said, there's always a issue on election years, whether it be national disasters, riots, terrorist attacks.
Many different issues that will affect travel.
So election years
that makes sense.
Affect your ability to travel for one, and two, affect your want to travel. But that speaking of traveling, I saw that cruise lines are allowed to set sail again. But I've heard that it's kind of misleading. Yes, they're allowed to sail again, but they're not allowed to have people on the ship. Like, they're not allowed to do cruises. They can sail, so they can return their boats or put their boats in different places, but you can't have a cruise. Like, you can't be selling tickets for the cruise.
Stupidest headline. Was that a headline?
I swear I saw that. I could be wrong. I saw the headline, and I read the article, and that's what it said. So I didn't look into it past that, but from what I heard, it's just they can set sail again.
The fact that you, Greg, took your time to read that article, I'm telling you, headlines are so misleading, and
that's why I read some things sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I see this headline, I'm gonna click it and read what it has to say to see how ridiculous they are in talking about this thing.
Dude, headlines, they're interesting.
Yeah,
they're interesting. How one sentence will shift the perception of what the whole article's about.
Yeah, everything is about misleading now. Everything out
it gets the clicks.
Food.
And that's the thing about
misleading right
that's
now.
The thing about the social dilemma is that as long as you get the clicks, it doesn't matter how you get the clicks. It doesn't matter if it's a ridiculous statement. The fact that it gets people to click on it is what really counts.
So let's talk. I was bringing up food. So they use this a lot. They misguide you in your food all the time. They'll say processed in California. Sure, maybe that cow was processed in California, but it lived in Ohio for its whole life.
You mean locally sourced?
No. This was processed. Processed just means when they chopped it up. So they could have killed this cow, cleaned it all in some other state, brought it over here, and chopped it up into pieces. And they're saying processed in California, as if this is California grown and like California, like everything happened here in California. No, it's like saying made in America, but it was all the pieces were put together in China and created. But when it got here, they just pieced it together.
I was just about to say that it's assembled in the USA or something like that.
Yeah,
and then everything was made in China or somewhere. Yeah. Somewhere.
And that's what, when I see a lot of that stuff, like when I see a label that advertises something outside of what it is, like let's just say right there, it says Scotch whiskey.
It says distilled and matured in Scotland.
Distilled and matured in Scotland. So everything was done in Scotland. But yes, it was distilled and matured in Scotland. But what they used to make it may not have been from Scotland.
Not all of it.
Could be from anywhere. It just was made there.
Matured in oak casks.
It's like saying homemade. Okay, who's home? Like when you see something that says homemade, none of that stuff is homemade.
Sometimes.
No, you can't. You're not having a house kitchen. That's not That's not approved by the health organization. No one's making food in their home.
Oh, you're talking about food.
I'm just saying
I was
the
gonna
words
say,
are so
I was
ridiculous.
about to plug in. Oh shit, dude! I forgot what it was called.
Like clothing stores. If I walk into a store and every single rack says, "Oh, on sale," and it says used to be this price, now this price, I don't shop there. I leave. Because it's BS. Your price was not $60 before. I've come in here for the past 5 years, and your price says it used to be $60, and you're selling it for $45. Your actual price is $45, and you're not having a sale right now.
Yeah.
That stuff gets me. I hate that stuff so much.
Misleading, right?
Yeah.
Misleading. But you said something about homemade. And I just wanted to plug in our one of our listeners here today. He is on the chat. His name is Gabe Perez. You can look him up at South Designs Co. on Instagram. He has some pretty good and awesome bookshelves. So that's homemade. So props for that, Gabe. I think it's going pretty well for you. You know, hopefully, I don't know, in the coming podcast, maybe we can actually work on something together. So if you're looking for some homemade things, I just thought maybe I can plug this in on this podcast if you're listening to this.
Yeah, bring him in. We can talk about how he started and what he does.
Yeah. So South Designs Co. That's South Designs Co. He's based off in Orange County, ships worldwide, I think. So look him up on Instagram if you're interested in a really cool, shaped tree-shaped bookshelf. That's what he specializes in. Anyway, so back to the polling. Greg, where are we at? So Joe Biden's still 209. Donald Trump's at 118. Electoral votes. Trump is leading the popular vote by 1.5? 1.1?
2. No, that's like 2.1. Let's just say 2. Let's just say 2 million.
Okay. Anyway, what were we talking about the manipulation of the human race through social media.
Through everything.
If you haven't already, please do yourself a favor. Go on Netflix. Watch The Social Dilemma. There are other podcasts where Tristan Harris or something like that appeared.
I believe it was.
A good one that I really enjoyed was the one he did with Joe Rogan on the JRE podcast. It was really interesting.
I didn't know he was on there.
Dude, he kind of reiterated a lot of the points from the documentary, but I think rightfully so. We really don't know how much influence the social media platforms have on us, on how we think, on how we perceive things. The ideas that we may have during the day may not even be our own. They may be something that that your subconscious picked up while you were, scrolling through your feed first thing in the morning when you went to go and sit in the bathroom for 30 minutes and went down this rabbit hole of social media. So it's definitely worth a read or worth a watch.
Do you think, though, that, let's just say we brought back flip phones, right? So your flip phone, you might have Snake on there. You can take some pictures. But you're not getting any apps on there. If we brought that kind of concept back, let's just say you can have a phone that has a great camera on it, and you can call and you can text people. And you can send pictures through text, that kind of thing. But we removed the whole apps, removed all that. Maybe you have a calculator, those simple, normal things you need, alarm clock, the normal tools you need in a day, the basics, yeah. But you remove the capabilities for these apps, Instagram, Facebook, all that. You can still access all that through the computer. But do you think a phone could be successful in that sense of advertising a sense of escape?
I think that there's a certain phone that has gone that route. I forget the name of the actual company. But you have to remember, man, Most of these apps were intentionally built to connect people. That means that if you are living in the US and you have family outside of the US, you can't just pick up the phone and call them most of the time. It's easier to get connected via an app. For example, I use WhatsApp a lot and I communicate with my sisters in Mexico. It's great. We send memes back and forth. We send GIFs. We send videos, pictures. And it's a group chat with all my family. So it's convenient. Getting on a flip phone, for me, that wouldn't be the... If we talk about business, that's the route to go. Because the less distracted I am, the more money I'm sure to make. However, when it comes to personal use, people... You know what? There's a switch in this direction of using social media platforms because people prefer it. Some of it is blinded, or they're blinded by it because they grew up with it. It's their norm, like Generation Z. It's normal for them to connect through apps. But the boomers and the millennial generation, some of us might think like, oh man, like maybe this is not a good idea. And other people, they don't even acknowledge that it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So will it be successful? I wouldn't say that it's going to be the next Apple. I definitely don't think it's going to be the next Apple. And that's because the trends and everything goes against it. If it was, people have to wake up in order to realize that the phone is no longer a tool. Your phone is no longer a tool. It used to be a tool. It used to be. Nowadays, it's every app you use. How can I keep this person engaged more? How can I keep them on this platform more? That be YouTube, Spotify. Like you look at your feed, recommended on Spotify. My music, your top picks, on repeat. There's different like playlists. Discover weekly. Discover new releases. Whatever. It's tailored to my taste and type of music that I like. You tell me how that's not going to engage me more.
But see that's one of the other things is that you can. Yeah, it's trying to suck you in. So you need to be able to set things separately. So like we have the same text message alarm for any text message we get. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there's groups that we're in. Like I have a group with my roommate and my neighbors. If I get a text message to that, there's more than likely there's not something that's super important being said in that. I could turn off an alarm for that group or turn a different sound on. So I don't go check it all the time. But let's say when I hear that text message sound, I think someone's trying to get a hold of me saying, hey, what's going on? What are we doing later? That kind of thing. So regardless, when I hear that noise, I'm going to come check it out.
It's a trigger.
Yeah. So,
right?
Yeah. Just get rid of notifications and you're good to go.
The issue is that in order for you to get rid of notifications, you consciously have to be aware of the issue. If you don't know it's an issue, how are you going to opt out from those notifications? And I'm telling you, I only figured this out last week and after watching The Social Dilemma. And from watching The Social Dilemma, it wasn't an overnight thing. I didn't like switch overnight. I didn't wake up the next morning thinking, oh, this is actually bad for me. I should not be doing this as much. No. It was a gradual, slow process where I just started... what it really comes down to is being mindful of your actions. I was starting to become more mindful of what I was doing. What was I doing? During work, I check my social media. Wait a minute. Why am I doing this? And then I noticed that I was going down rabbit holes. And so I realized that, well, one, that's not my goal. So that is why I I decided to change things.
I don't think you see what I just saw.
No.
So Trump had about a 2 million vote lead.
Mm-hmm.
He now only has 400,000 lead in the vote count. Now he has 300,000 lead.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well,
Scroll up. I want to see the electoral votes if it's changed.
209 to 118.
Trump went up 10 more, didn't he? He was at 108, wasn't he?
I'm not sure.
I believe he was.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting. We'll see. There's still a lot of swing states that have not completed everything, all their polling. Florida's at 98%. Georgia's 70. Iowa's 74.
Who's Florida going for? Because I was watching something earlier and it said if Trump doesn't win Florida, then he'll more than likely lose.
Well,
so
I don't know. I mean, Florida always seems to be more of a Republican state or conservative state. So I'm not sure. Nevada is the one that I think we're all waiting for. That's going to be a big one. Texas is at 38 electoral votes. I think that's it for that. 75% reporting. Ohio's 94%. North Carolina's 94%. So, I mean, you can kind of tell these are pretty safe to say they're red. Man, this is close. This is really close.
It's so interesting.
When it comes to the election, guys, how worried are you? A lot of people, there's been a lot of things on the news and the media and social media where people have been saying that they're worried about civil unrest. What's your stand on that, Greg?
I think there will be civil unrest in two different ways. I think if Trump wins, there'll be civil unrest in the sense of riots and protests. I think if Biden wins, there can be civil unrest if Biden enacts things that he said he would. So I don't think it would be like an instantaneous one like it would be if Trump won. So I think that it would be a little less detrimental. So let's say Joe Biden wins and he tries to take away guns. I think that could start a big issue, aka kind of civil war or whatever you want to call it. And if Trump wins, people won't like that he won. If he doesn't necessarily do anything to, like, he doesn't change policies or anything, there will be riots like we see have been happening already. And then they'll go away, like every riot and every protest that's happened under every president, really. And so that's why I say
have you seen that people were starting to board up their businesses?
Yeah, I actually saw this thing that there was in Long Beach. There was there were officials from Long Beach in Arizona going to promote Biden while their city is being boarded up because they know there's going to be riots. And it's like, why are you leaving the state when there's going to be an issue that you're not trying to solve to go to a different state to try to get votes for that state? Like, take care of your hometown if there's an issue. Like, get back here. What are you doing?
See, parties don't act like that. You're talking about a leader, not a follower, and you're gonna do whatever it takes to stay in power, like you said.
In this sense, sure.
Do you know our governors? They also run 8 years, right? Or mayors and mayors are every 4 years.
I can't remember the exact years for all this stuff.
No, I'm just thinking. I mean, they have to cater to their base. So I'm not surprised that they did that. You know. So let's see, 209, 118. Not much of a change. And right now it's 8:30. So
Polls are done
polls
here.
are done here in California, in the
But-
West Coast. I don't know about.
I'd assume we're waiting for Alaska.
How come we don't
and
see?
Hawaii.
Oh, Alaska, no results yet. Hawaii, no results yet. Oh, that's really interesting, huh?
Yep.
That's really interesting. Look at that.
It's so. I'm curious what this has to do with. So I got a text message from one of the candidates group, and it says that I didn't donate, and they want me to donate, and my question is why would I donate right now? Like, what's the point? You're campaigning.
You just got this text right
No,
now?
I've been getting the messages like, oh, you haven't donated, help us out, donate now. And it's like, why would they be asking now? Like
Ads.
But where are you putting out ads?
Because,
the voting's done.
Well, when did you get that message?
Right now.
That's what I asked. So you got that text right now?
That specific text right now. Yeah.
To donate?
Yeah. What am I donating for?
No, well, that's a good question.
The sense,
I don't know.
If you think about it, they probably spent more money than they've gotten. So they're trying to finish those costs off.
Sure.
So that could make sense. But that's a little weird that you're asking for money when it's all kind of said and done already. You know?
Yeah.
Like, what are you using the money for? Buying other votes or something? Like,
so I'm gonna search up. I'm really curious about the difference in rallies.
Okay. See, that's one of the things too that if you think about it, you're gonna see two things. Are you talking about the rallies for the two people going for president?
Right now. I'm really interested in.
So I'll start with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, his whole base is mask, coronavirus, stay home if you don't need to go anywhere, and social distance.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see his rallies, there's gonna be like maybe 15 to 30 people total. So if you think about it, it's because he's telling people not to come. He's telling people to socially distance. He's only allowing a certain amount of people. So it's kind of misleading to be like, hey, he only has 15 people there. Well, yes, because that's all he let in. Sure, he could have had bigger crowds, or maybe he's not having bigger crowds. Who knows?
Right.
But, so it looks like the numbers changed.
The numbers change. And we'll get back to the numbers. I'm just wondering how many rallies were held by these two candidates right now.
But then you look at Trump's rallies, and he's going to airports, and there's, I think one of them, one of the last ones had like 20,000 people there. So there's a huge difference when you look at one that has 30 people around and 40,000 people around, but you can't compare the two because they're both going off of different values in a sense. Mm-hmm. One is stay home, stay safe. The other is you make your decision.
Did you notice? I don't know if you've noticed, but I noticed that Trump lost a lot of weight in this past month.
I thought I noticed that too because have you heard of the Nelk Boys? They're big on YouTube. Their whole stick is like college party type. But they do a lot of pranks.
No.
Well, they're getting really big on YouTube, and they got to meet President Trump, and they stood next to him. And I looked at Trump. I was like, "Wow, maybe the TV kind of makes him look much bigger than he is because he did not look chubby in that picture at all."
Don't they say that that TV adds like 20 pounds?
Yeah, or maybe COVID made him lose weight.
You think that the speed they gave him made him lose weight?
Okay, I'm pretty sure I had COVID. I didn't get the test to confirm it, and my roommate did, and it said he had it. And there's no way I would be able to do what Trump was doing the way I was sick. So I don't think it affected him that much. Like, it affected me to a sense. Sure, I could stand up in front of people and probably talk, but you could clearly see that I did not feel good.
Which was not the case with Trump.
Not from what I saw. And as far as I know, I don't think Joe Biden's had it.
I mean,
Right.
he could have had it and it kind
I
of
don't-
kept it hush hush. Who knows? Maybe he didn't.
I don't think so. I don't think that I ever saw Joe Biden sick.
Because I know some of the Kamala Harris's like close advisors had gotten it, and I think that might be one of the reasons too why they didn't campaign as much either.
Right.
But I'm not sure because Joe Biden didn't really campaign too much at the end. He didn't even have. I don't think he had any rallies since the debate. No, I think he had one.
I think he had like 2.
Since the last debate, I think he only had one.
And they showed up in cars.
Outside of that, I think Obama was the one who was campaigning essentially for Biden. But I thought that was a little weird that Biden didn't have as many, regardless if it was like video conferences or actually being out in different states. I thought that was kind of a little.
Well, do you think that would go
different.
against the things that he preaches?
Whoa, that's a big difference. Joe Biden has the vote count now, and he's up by 1,300,000. It flopped.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah, look at that.
That was. You proved me wrong. He was up by about 3 million votes, and now
telling
he's down
you,
by
I'm
1
telling you,
million.
this is gonna keep going back and forth. It's gonna go one way, and then it's gonna go another way.
They probably changed the electoral votes then. No, it's still the same.
Well, if you're only listening to this podcast, we are watching the polls on. It's being live. It's updated live on Google. I don't know how accurate this is. I don't know what their sources are. If they're capturing information from different news outlets or
you can't fake the electoral votes. I mean, they could, but it's
I'm not
easy
saying
not to figure that out.
I'm not saying they're faking it. I just don't know if this is up to the hour.
The accuracy of the popular vote is the vote that would be in question.
Oh, it's the Associated Press. That's who's been. I don't know who they are.
So, the essentially it's whoever can report the votes first.
So check. Okay, so now we have some ballot measures. Arizona Proposition 207 legalize marijuana. 60% yes, but 16% reporting.
How about you go to California since we're in California?
Oh, that's right. Sorry. Okay, California. Proposition 14, medical research bonds, 52.4 yes, 21% reporting.
Still
what does this say? This one is authorizes 5.5 billion state bonds for stem cell research and other medical research.
Oh, so, I mean, I can understand why yes for California then in that sense.
Mm-hmm. California, Proposition 15. This is the one you were talking about, right?
I think so.
So taxes properties based on current market value rather than purchase price and increases property taxes on commercial properties for funding. Ooh, this one was interesting. I don't know this is the best route for us. I don't know if that's the best route for us. So let's see. California in end diversity ban. 52.9% voted no. California Proposition 17 restore former felon votes. 61.8% voted yes.
See,
so far. And by the way, we're only at 21% reporting. So this means that we still have 79% to vote. 79% people that need to vote or that need their votes counted. California Proposition 20, stricter parole on sentencing. Let's see. We have California Proposition 21, local government rent control. 56.9% equals for no. We have California Proposition 22, app-based drivers as contractors. 56.8% yes. California Proposition 23, dialysis clinic standards. 63.2% no. We have Proposition 24, expand consumer privacy. 58.1% yes. And, okay, did you really understand that one, Greg? Like, they expand consumer privacy laws, but from the research that I did, it says that this bill was, it was the social media platforms helped write this bill.
Okay.
So I don't know if people understand it or not.
So
it's within their.
So the consumer privacy, as in keeping what you've searched to yourself. You being able to search to say cats and dogs, and Google not be able to take that information and use it for their own. And that's where like the UBI comes in, Universal Basic Income, where these companies now need to pay you to use your data. Because they're taking all this information and being able to use it and not paying you for your information.
Mm-hmm.
In any other case, that'd be stealing. So
but they are providing this quote-unquote free service that you do use.
But the reason they're giving it to you free is because they're getting that data that is worth it to give it to you for free.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's the whole thing is
social dilemma.
If they pay us for it, then they can charge us for it.
I can't stress it anymore. So watch Social Dilemma as soon as you can, and then come back and watch our podcast on it, which is I think it's episode 57. So we'll go back to the polling.
I think you just have to hit back twice, maybe once.
So what are your thoughts so far, Greg?
I mean, I'm surprised of the how it went from Trump being up 3 million votes to him being down.
California, I think California is a huge state.
He's almost down 1,700,000 votes now. It's just so interesting how the number changes so big. I think what it is just that certain places will throw their votes in. So it's like, let's just say California is more than likely going to vote more for Joe Biden than Trump.
Well,
so if all of a sudden they get all the votes from California and throw them in, Joe Biden's going to get a lot of votes all of a sudden.
Well, check this out.
So let's say Nevada votes for Donald Trump more. When Nevada throws it in, Donald Trump's going to jump up a bit.
Well,
so it's just
check
when
this
the
out.
votes come in. Yeah.
California, 50% reporting. So we still have 50% of people to.
I'm still curious though if the 57% reporting is 50% of the electoral votes or 57% of the voters. I think it's the electoral vote. So that's why Joe Biden went from that 140 to the 100 or to the 209 because California reported all their electoral votes.
Right.
Because you can see California, Oregon, and Washington are completely blue now. So all their votes were
Whoa, so Arizona's it's starting to be blue.
Can you go back to California real quick? I want to see the vote count. So half of the amount. So there's 2,350,000 for Donald Trump and almost 6 million for Joe Biden, California. It's so interesting because if you look, how many is that? 5, 6? There's about 8 million votes in California.
8 million votes of California, and we have almost 40 million people.
So can you go over to Utah? Utah voted Republican. So that's not even a million votes in Utah, right? So
right. So they could go either or.
So go to a state that voted Republican that has even near the amount of votes as California.
Well, California says it's like 9.
Go to Texas. Since Texas hasn't decided, there's almost 9 million votes there. So 77%. And they're about even.
that goes to tell me that California is a whole lot less diverse than people come to say it is. Texas is more diverse than California is, just based off the voting. Because California is too close to being uniformed in voting. 70% of California is similar. That's so interesting to me.
You know what's crazy?
50% of Texas is not the same as the other 50% of Texas.
California has 12 million more people than Texas does.
Yeah.
There's so many people in California.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We have most of the farming land in the United States, right?
From what I hear.
We have more people just crammed in. We have to. If most of it is farming land and just natural forest and beach, we're just crammed in, dude. That's crazy. All right, you got to take over for a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay. So, now is your time. You guys have any questions for Thought Process Podcast? Shoot them my way. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in. We're about 2.5 hours. I think this is going to be our longest podcast we've done this year. So shoot any comments, feedback, any questions you may have for Greg and I. Let us know what you guys are thinking. Has the anxiety, the election anxiety passed? Where are you guys at this time? You know, Greg and I'm personally speaking, I'm taking this by a grain of salt. I don't know what to expect. I think that this is going to be definitely a close race between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. I don't know. This is definitely an interesting election. Again, one of the things that I think that is positive when it comes to this election is the fact that it never before has there been a time where the spotlight was on the government and on the gears and how the government works. I don't think that people have been paying attention. Not this much. I think that within the same lines of how media works and how they make things go viral, this election has been so controversial that the media has not been able to shy away from it. They have to cover it from the beginning to the end. And so because of that, more people are tuning in. And because of that, we're finding out a lot more information of how the government actually works, how people perceive, and how people identify with certain parties. I don't know. There's a lot of good in all this social divide that we've had. I think that some good has happened. So I just hope that moving forward, people in the next elections, they will pay more attention to the things that actually really affect their local government, their life. You know, yes, voting for a president will affect you in some sort of way. However, the election that you really need to be paying attention to is your local government. I can't stress that enough. You go take a look at the candidates. What are they about? What are they going to do for us, the people? Are they is someone in their pocket? You know, we're figuring out, you know, what we need to figure out who is for who and what they're willing to do for us, the people.
So I was just reading some stuff, and I guess one of the things with Nevada, how you see Nevada is nothing's in yet.
Don't tell me that there was a nuke hit Nevada.
No,
the meteor struck Nevada. Shut up.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I guess Nevada. What's in Nevada?
Casinos?
No.
What?
Well, yes, but
desert.
What's the big thing that you would go to Nevada for? Vegas.
Vegas.
And what happens in Vegas?
Stays in Vegas.
No. Vegas is a huge on gambling.
Right.
Vegas is people are betting on the election right now, dude.
Oh man.
People are trying to make money right now, dude.
Dude, as they should. They should be able to make money anytime.
I guess the odds in Vegas were in Joe Biden's favor, and they just flipped to Trump's favor, and people are starting to like freak out who've put money in, and there's like a whole thing. I was just reading about it. It was so interesting. I never thought about it. It's not an article. My friend was talking to me about it.
So I wonder if there's any draft picks for this, right?
Draft picks, like which electoral college voter do you have?
Yeah.
Going to DraftKings.
Yeah, man.
So looking at the vote count now, Trump's behind by still about 1,200,000.
Right.
But
we'll just refresh it for you guys.
I think it refreshes automatically. I just don't think too much is
the electoral votes they're not all in.
That's why I was trying to figure out when and why do the electoral votes have to be in.
There must be a lot that haven't.
I think there's enough people who have electoral votes who have decided who they're going to vote for. Like we went from California not being like no information from California to all 55 have already voted. So I think that's what it is that in a lot of places like Nevada, Texas, Montana, Georgia, Florida, they have people who consistently go for what they want to. Mm-hmm. And those are the votes we wait for. And outside of that, most of these places are instant. Like North Dakota was done instantly because there's 3 votes. And that's where I'm curious, like, where is the cutoff for the electoral votes? Why do some people vote right away and why do some people wait? Those are kind of the main questions I have now.
Yeah, it's a good question. Who knows? I don't know why. I don't know when they're voted, when when they're casted. Have to be in. I don't know when they're casted or if they have a certain cutoff time in the same way that we have. So at the moment, let's see. Not much has changed. We're about 2 hours and 40 minutes into this podcast, Greg. I think this is going to be by far the longest podcast we've ever had before. It's kind of cool that we had a lot of people joining us. Again, if you're new to this podcast, Greg and I basically take on the world through conversation and bro science. If you're new, expect a lot of speculation, expect a lot of, you can expect a lot of jokes, but, all seriousness aside, or all jokes aside, and if we want to really get deep into our philosophy of why we do this podcast, it's because I personally believe that our views constantly change, and kind of making a vlog about it will help me in the future understand how I came to be the person who I'm going to be in 20 years. And it's going to give people an insight on someone who is dreaming it and sort of living the life they want to live. We talk about business. I usually have a few friends who were really interested in business. We have people who will come on who specialize in certain areas. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody. If you haven't already, I hope that you subscribe to the podcast. You can follow us on at TPP is loading on any platform. You can also follow our podcast on any platform where the podcast is available, including iHeartRadio, iTunes Podcast, or Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify. We've also just recently launched our merch, our official merch on teespring.com. The link is in the description below. And we've also launched a new website where you can listen to the old podcasts directly from Buzzsprout or YouTube. What else is new? We have a lot of stuff. We've been working really hard to get.
We've been posting on Instagram. No, we still posted today. We usually post within 1 to 10 minutes before we start doing the podcast.
We give you guys about 15-20 minutes of time to join us. We usually, if you want to know when we're going live next time, just keep an eye out. Add us on Instagram. We should notify you guys about 15-20 minutes prior to us going live. And that would be a good way for you guys to start kind of engaging us. Social media, as much as we hate it, I think that there's no way to avoid it at this point. You just have to be conscious. Like, if you go to social media, go on it for a purpose. I usually try to go on there to follow up with friends. I talk to my friends there. We communicate through these platforms. That's basically why I have social media in the first place. When it comes to, kind of just consuming a lot of information, I think that's where the slippery slope comes in. And as long as you're mindful and aware of what you're doing on these types of platforms, and you understand how they are being tailored to you specifically, I think that's going to really help you kind of keep a balance between what they're designed to do and for your own good. Have I missed anything, Greg?
No.
Okay, so back to the polling.
I was looking up the whole thing about the electoral votes. I guess they don't have to be in till December 13th.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't necessarily think
right now, not on Google. This is a different source. Biden is at 223. Trump jumped to 204. I don't know if this.
What?
I don't know if this here will change anytime soon. I wonder. That's what I'm wondering. I don't know.
The Google one on my phone still shows 209 to 118. Because if that's the case, like, that's what I said. Isn't that what I said? They'll both about even out at 200, and then the race is on at that point. So it's that next. It's those deciding factors after the 200 mark.
Yeah, I think this is really where it's gonna be neck and neck, right?
I mean, you're at the end. There's what if Joe? You said Joe was at 220, 230.
Joe was at 223. Trump's at 204.
Yeah, so he needs 40 more votes. He's in, and Trump needs 66.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the sense, if you think about it, Joe Biden has less road to walk than Trump does. But the interesting thing is too, though, is that it's just like, I feel like majority of the people have decided, they just haven't voted yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really like they're waiting to see these numbers to see like what they're gonna do.
Right.
But it looks like Joe's lead is in the vote count has been pretty consistent. He's still 1,200,000 above Trump. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
So they've talked about adding
2 more states, haven't they? Doesn't the Democratic Party want to add in 2 more states? They want to make Washington, D.C. a state, and
I don't know. I didn't read that.
What's the other country that's technically under U.S. rule? It's not Cuba.
You mean Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico and Washington, D.C., I believe they want to make states.
Yo, what's up, Chris? Thank you for joining us on today's election special podcast. It's the end of the world as we know it. And, this whole week I've been thinking about this song. That's our theme song for today. It's the end of the world as we know it.
But isn't it always the end of the world?
Fine.
Remember year 2000, end of the world? Remember, I don't know. There's so many times. I remember watching when we first went into Iraq and Afghanistan, and on the news, they showed us like the cities over there being bombed. Dude, I was so scared when I saw that. I thought it was the end of the world.
Really?
Dude, I was so scared from that.
That's it. That's so funny. Not funny, but it's interesting.
But this is the other interesting part is that it's semi-close race in the sense of what we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So 50% of the country thinks that the world's going to end because Trump could win. 50% of the country thinks the world's going to end because Joe Biden can win. So realistically, the world's not going to end.
So before this podcast, Greg and I were talking about civil unrest. I don't think that we will have a complete civil unrest whether one party over the other wins. I think that most people have common sense to understand that this is not the end of the world. And yes, we may have civil unrest in some certain cities, but I'm telling you, it's not going to be everywhere. I doubt it'll be here. I don't think that we should be all that worried about it. I think it was more of a political hype in order to get people to vote a certain way. I just don't see it really, playing out that way.
But I mean, I don't know. I would have to look at why countries have civil wars, and do we have a big enough reason to have a civil war?
I don't think so. I think that
because of slavery, there was a civil war. That's a big enough issue to have a civil war over. What do we have now that could be a big issue for civil war? Abortion? No, we've had that. There's always been that fight. That fight has gone on for so long. That's not civil war worthy. What else is big? I mean, one of the other big talking points is racism. One side says one side's racist. That side says they're not racist. Okay, what actual racist things are happening? I don't think there's typical racist things like saying that a specific race can't go here or go there. Like
segregation.
I think the racist concepts are based off of individual people. You know what I mean? There's not
like they do exist, but it's not popular.
Yeah. And so I don't think that's necessarily a big thing for Civil War. So the only thing I could see Civil War wise that could happen would be guns. Trump says that if the Democrats win, they're going to try to take away your guns. Democrats, a lot of them have kind of said they would. They don't want to take away certain guns. So if you come and you try to take people's guns, I could see civil war happening because
that might cause civil unrest.
Well, there's a difference between civil and unrest. There's going to be civil unrest regardless who wins or not. Civil unrest is a simple riot. That's civil unrest. That it's not good, but that happens consistently in all elections and doesn't change. We have riots when the Lakers win a championship.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not something that's going to to affect everyone, and something big's gonna happen.
Right.
So I think there's very few things that will cause a civil war. And if it happens, I don't think it will happen right away. I think it will happen because whoever becomes president decides to do something.
Also, you have to remember that there may be a lot of pushback on certain things, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say that, Biden wins, and his whole campaign thing, one of his campaign promises was to get rid of, whatever guns, exert certain laws for guns, right? Mm-hmm. There may be a lot of pushback. Doesn't mean that it's actually going to happen. Mm-hmm. And in the same way, on the other side, there are things that Trump has been campaigning against or for that may not actually happen. Mm-hmm. Right? So, yeah, there might be a lot of pushback. I think this is definitely an interesting race. It's interesting to be kind of part of it, kind of be here live, which is what I wanted to do. You know it, Greg. It's something that I think that it's obviously important for everybody, and I'm just kind of helping shine a light on this whole process. It's to some extent it's silly, but it's actually important. This is the process that in the system that we have in place. So we can't do anything about it now. The only thing you can do is vote so that your voice is heard, and that's it. That's all we could do. Whatever that is. Like I'm not gonna lose friends over, who they voted for. So I don't know. This is again. This is an interesting race. I'm really interested in figuring out who's gonna lead us for the next 4 years, maybe 8 years, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't. That's the other thing. Like looking at it, 8 years. Let's see. I want to see how old both the candidates are. How old is Joe Biden?
So I'm going to say Joe Biden's 77.
Yeah, Joe Biden is 77. How old is Trump?
75.
74.
Okay.
So if Trump wins, he'll be 78 when he's done, which is 1 year older than Joe Biden is now. If Joe Biden wins, he'll be 81 when his term's over. If he won a second one, he'd be 85.
Jesus.
I don't think I know anyone who's 85.
Really?
I don't think so. My grandma might be, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
actually, my grandma might be 85.
It's definitely interesting.
And so that's one of the things too. Like that, it's just so interesting to look at that stuff. Because you have to think at a certain point too, though. Like, there's got to be too old, just like there's too young.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Man. So, where are you at right now, Greg? You still have another hour in you, or what's going on with you? How long do you want to keep this podcast going? I mean,
well, nothing's changing too much on here. So,
technically speaking, I don't think that we'll find out today.
Yeah.
So from this other source, I see 227 on Biden, 204 Trump.
Okay. What is the source?
Fox News.
Okay, so this is one of the things you gotta look at too, is that some people are getting information faster, but it can all come down to later times. Because why? Have you looked at other news groups?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
So if you go to other news groups and they're still at the 213, 118, I may not necessarily believe Fox, but at the same time, maybe they have some kind of source that's giving them better information, maybe, or faster information.
Perhaps.
Who knows?
Other sources aren't putting up the numbers up just yet.
There could be an issue with some of the votes or something.
Yeah, some people are at 213, 118, which is what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. So this seems a little bit more accurate. It may also just be behind in a sense.
I see one here that says presidential results 213 Biden, 118 Trump. Senate result 44 Democratic, 45 Republican. House result 123 Democratic, 145 Republican. Which I find really interesting. But again, I don't know if our numbers are up to the hour. I don't know if they're up to the hour in terms of how accurate they are.
This is one of the other things too. You always hear like voter fraud and people being able to vote who aren't supposed to be able to vote. Like, let's say you have to register to vote to be able to vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can't they just simply look at how many votes are cast and be like, okay, there are enough votes that shouldn't count? Like, how do they determine?
I don't know. I don't know if they registered them there right on the spot.
I mean, I know they couldn't determine which votes were illegitimate and which aren't. You can see that there's I can't say the word.
Illegitimate?
Yeah, that there's illegitimate votes out there. And then I guess I don't know what you would do with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can end it here because this is gonna go on till midnight probably.
Yeah. So I think that well, first of all, thank you everybody who joined us live. We will kind of recap the election on our usual time.
Yeah.
Are we going to be back here Thursday?
Yeah, because I figure it's gonna
take a few days.
We'll more than likely know by Thursday, and we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah. So we'll be back Thursday evening, California time. Again, if you're interested in following the podcast, you can find us at TPP is loading everywhere on social media. I only encourage you to follow us, just for the sake of knowing when we go live. If you are interested in listening to different type of topics, feel free to put it in the comments below on any of our videos. Give us some suggestions on social media. As much as we want you guys to be more mindful about your use on social media, I think that the only way to combat this is to have an open discussion and conversation about it, and maybe that will help curb the one-sided use of social media, which is mainly benefiting the social media platforms and not ourselves.
Yeah, so choose your time wisely and don't prioritize us over important things you're supposed to do.
Yeah, if you have a spare minute, if you're driving, if you're doing the dishes, if you're cleaning, you're going out for a walk and you want to listen to our podcast, we'll welcome you with open arms. Aside from that, we don't encourage you to spend all day here. We're a fairly new podcast. I mean, we've been around for a year and a half. I'm sure we'll be here for many years to come. And I mean, that's it. What other things do we have, Greg?
Well, check
What's
us out.
The usual business?
What do you mean usual business?
Just give them the business spiel.
So check us out on Instagram. Follow the page on Instagram. We're on the other social media platforms: Facebook, MySpace. No, just kidding. Twitter. Instagram is one of the main social medias that we focus on the most. So everything will be up to date on that. We do have our website. TPP is loading.
/ I think Google websites.
Yeah, and then we'll post about 10 minutes before we go live on Thursday nights. Traditionally, something going on tonight, so we're doing that for the election. We have a few different types of podcasts that we do. Sometimes we'll choose a specific subject and deep dive into it. At times we do a rabbit hole, which is just learning as we go, doing the research with you guys, hanging out and talking, which seems like we get a lot more interaction with the community through that. And then we do special events like the election here and other things. And Marco brings in guests sometimes when I can't be here as well. And we just hang out and have a good time.
So follow us, subscribe to this YouTube channel if possible. Follow us on every other platform where you listen to podcasts.
If you got the time, hit the like on all the videos. Just subscribe. We just want the interaction. We want to know how many people are coming in and
what you guys are interested in. Because at the end of the day, we're doing this for a community, not for ourselves. I want to make sure that the lessons that I learned through my experience in life and the things that I'm doing, I'm able to share with you guys, and hopefully you guys find them helpful in one way or another. So, with that, I'm going to do a little excerpt from The Heart of the Buddha. I'm just going to find my space, Greg.
MySpace?
I just have to find where I left off last week.
I hope that the person who wrote this name is Tom.
Tom?
From MySpace.
Okay, guys. So remember, life is short. Time is fleeting. Uncover the true nature. Purify the mind and heart to attain happiness. Be kind. Be compassionate. Be generous. Do good. Concentrate. Understand. Awaken. And with that, again, we thank you guys on behalf of the TPP family. Thank you guys for joining us today. It means a lot to Greg and I. If you guys have any additional questions, please let us know. Otherwise, we will see you here on Thursday around 7 p.m. Pacific time. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you later. Bye, everyone.